I'm Jan Fran.
Absolutely not true.
And we have a quiz show.
Yeah, kinda.
That will put an end to fake news.
Slight overreach.
Catch the new show about getting your facts straight.
It showcases the best new comedians.
Yeah, that bit's true.
And it gives you the tools to tackle misinformation.
Question everything.
People call me misinformation.
Really?
Drop in for a new show with Will Anderson and Jan Fran. Wednesday nights on ABC TV and stream it on ABC iView.
ABC Sport. AFL.
Grandstand AFL.
Right boot from the top angle. Oh, yes.
What a high quality game this is. Tremendous.
It's so good to watch.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
It's a new day, beginning.
Gibbons runs onto it, gathers Hardy, it's the boundary, time Tillman.
Oh, no! That is a great goal.
Paddles into his own advantage, bangs it up into the top deck.
Kick it inside forward 50. Massive boy! What a mark!
That's his trademark.
Snap from the pocket, splits the middle.
This game is going up a gear.
The 2021 AFL Premiership
He
season
started it, he finishes it.
on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
The final round of the home and away season, and it's the Swans and the Suns under the roof at Docklands. The Gold Coast got the better of Sydney in round 6 and will be aiming to repeat the dose in their final hit out of season 2021 today, while the Swans can still finish 5th with a win and things going their way as they head into a finals campaign. 3 massive ins for Sydney in Mills, Franklin and Lloyd, a couple of significant outs in Blakey and Kennedy among them, while for the Suns, significant changes as well. Jared Harbrow comes into the team to play his final game in Gold Coast colours, and they see a debutant in Alex Davies. So one's Cairns product exiting the scene, another young gun comes into this Gold Coast side this afternoon. Great to have your company on Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio and ABC News Radio. Joel Peterson with you, calling alongside me Jess Webster. G'day, Jess.
G'day, Joel. It's good to be here.
It's a beautiful day outside in Melbourne, and it is a real shame the roof's closed here, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. And of course, it's always a shame on the eve of finals not to have fans in the stands as well. But this game, it did rubber in a few ways, but I also think there are some, questions to be asked as well of both sides. The Swans obviously looking to find that momentum going into finals. Their track record in recent weeks hasn't been that bad, but in saying that, without Kennedy, without Blakely, that might have an effect today. And then for the Suns, obviously they're saying goodbye to Jared Harbrow and Zach Smith as well, and debuting another product from their Gold Coast Suns Academy. So no doubt they'll want to finish the season on a high. There's been a bit of talk around the future of Coach Stuart Dew, so no doubt they'll want to put their best foot forward out there today. Yeah, we'll broach those topics very soon with John Haynes, the GM of Footy Ops from the Suns, Jared McVeigh, to join us on Grandstand AFL, as well as we say good afternoon to our experts in Chris Johnson and Nathan Burke. Firstly to you, Jono. Afternoon, good to be here.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Looking forward to it. Obviously, the Suns going down last week to the Bombers down at Geelong, so they were there for about a half a game and then they sort of dropped off. So really looking forward to see what they've got. So what are they playing for today? And that's what you've got to ask yourself the question, and they've got to ask themselves the question: Are they playing for a position on the list? Are they playing for an extended contract? And then you look over to the Swans and you think, well, I think this outfit we've seen them come and do professional sort of games, and then we've dropped away. So I'm really looking forward to see what the Swans produce, and it'll give us a sense of how they're going to attack the finals.
And Berkey, I mean, the Swans, they're going into a September campaign. We've seen them throughout the season do some really good things. They maybe dropped off a little bit last week against North, but still got the W, and they're just aiming to take some momentum into finals.
Yeah, afternoon, everybody. It's good to be here. In fact, it's good to be anywhere at this stage.
True.
But all our Sydney viewers, listeners, not viewers, listeners, welcome, and hopefully you're safe at home. Your Gold Coast Suns, they're out and about, so good luck for them. But no, it's great to be here. And the Swans, we saw them last week. They got rid of a pesky North Melbourne. I wouldn't say they played their best football, but that's what tends to happen when you're playing a team like North Melbourne. I wouldn't read too much into it. And probably a similar danger today playing a team like Gold Coast Suns. If they get their confidence going, just take a few risks and they come off, well then they could hang into this game.
Let's hope that they can. Jared McVeigh from the Swans to come up shortly, but it's good to have the company of the GM of Footy Ops from the Suns, John Haynes, on Grandstand AFL. John, thanks very much for your time. G'day, John. Have you got us there?
Yeah, you got me. I can hear you.
Yes, we've got you there, John. Thanks for your time. A mixed fortnight for your team, of course. Win against Carlton a couple of weeks ago, not quite up to the level against Essendon. Do you get a sense of what to expect today from your side? Because they can be a little bit hard to read coming into games.
Yeah, I think it's been an interesting 3 weeks down here. Obviously, had to get going really rapidly. 3 weeks ago today, actually, prior to the Melbourne game, and that certainly wasn't the ideal preparation leading into it, and our performance probably reflected that. We were pleased with the response against Carlton, but then weren't able to maintain that consistent performance the other week. And that level of consistency from a performance perspective was something we've been quite open in talking about publicly and certainly internally as well, as to how do we bridge that gap between our best and our worst. And we understand that with an emerging group you're going to get fluctuations, but certainly we're keen to maintain that focus on limiting that gap.
Jess mentioned it right off the top. It's been I guess there's been a little bit of speculation during the week about the position of Stuart Dew as coach going into next season. Has that surprised you, John? What's your reaction to some of that talk during the week? Does that frustrate you? I mean, you wouldn't take too much of it in, I'm sure, but you'd be aware of it. What do you feel when you hear some of that speculation throughout the week?
Yeah, you probably summarised it well at the latter end of your discussion there, in the sense that we're obviously aware of it. It's hard to ignore the external narrative at times, but certainly don't feel it's a pleasant part of the industry in that sense. And Stewie's contracted for next year, and we see internally the unbelievable impact he's had on the playing group and the significant impact he's had on the culture of the club. And the connection that he's been able to drive and build within the playing group has been really, really impressive. And so we see that internally, our players see that internally, the coaching group, all of our stakeholders inside the footy club. And I think that's the bit that I think from an external perspective is a bit hard to judge at times when you're undertaking such a reset and such a rebuild that we did undertake 3 or 4 years ago. It does take time, and Stewie alluded to the fact during the week that often when you undertake this path from a draft perspective, winning can be the last piece of the puzzle, and we've started to see some gains in that sense this year, and we're really confident that we're on the right track. And again, the work that Stewie does in leading the program and leading the club has been unbelievable, and we love him, and he's doing a fantastic job, and so the external stuff doesn't really bother us.
Hainsey, Chris Johnson here, mate. Look, I know it's been a tough couple of 3 weeks for you guys down here in Melbourne, but I think while you're talking about the sort of future for the football club, and I know that there's been a long list of injuries come through with a lot of experienced players being out on your list and not being able to produce some sort of good footy while you've been down here and get that 4 points. But in terms of the list management now, is it to look to get more mature players, or because you've got a wide range of youth in the team already, are you going to boost that up? Because obviously Greenwood and Ellis and even Waller to that extent have been out. Are you going to look to produce a little bit more experience in your group moving forward into the draft or potentially into a trade period?
Yeah, it's a good observation and a fair one, I think, John. I think, as I alluded to before, we have taken the path over the last 3 or 4 drafts to take the best talent available and build a group of players that are going to stay together for a period of time. And we think that part of the strategy is working really effectively. Bringing in guys like Brando and Huey, who you alluded to, have been really helpful for us in terms of putting experienced players around our younger players. And I think part of our challenge for the next phase of our list build is to be really strategic with the type of player that we bring in. We do want to continue building this group and continue the cohesion that's been built by allowing them to play together. But we also understand that adding 1 or 2 experienced players at different times can really add to the overall group. And then the other part is the positional aspect as well. I think we've alluded to the fact over the last few months that we'd certainly love to identify a key forward that we can come in and complement the progression of Ben King. We think at different times Sam Day and Chris Burgess and Josh Corbett has played that role throughout the year, and they've done a terrific job. But those last 2 lads in particular are probably a little bit undersized to play the true key forward role. So there's 2 parts. One is the experience part, but also the positional element as well that we'll be spending a lot of time over the next few months from a trade perspective.
And then, obviously, we're seeing a club legend who's really just embraced the whole football club have his last game today in Jared Harbrow. He obviously came up from the Western Bulldogs, but a nice little touch with the boys today, wearing their warm-up jumpers, all with the number 5 and with Jared's name on the back, and something underneath it that I just can't make out. But and there was a bit of a challenge in getting him into Melbourne to get this final game for him.
Yeah, there was. We flagged with Harbs a number of weeks ago that we'd love the Essendon game to be his farewell game, and then obviously we had to get going pretty quickly down in Melbourne, and we couldn't get that done with the border restrictions. But with the restrictions freeing up during the week, it provided an opportunity to get Jared down, and he's been training like an absolute madman back at the club, and he's super ready, and he can't wait to get into it. So and it's a nice touch today as well that. We've got a Cairns product, leaving the game in Jared. We've also got a Cairns product in Alex Davies playing his first game. So, really nice bit of romance there and recognition of the Cairns region and Far North Queensland and the players that they're producing.
Fantastic. Nathan Burke here, mate. Thanks for having a chat. This time of the year, we tend to start to evaluate the whole season, and there's easy ways of doing it, looking at wins and losses and things like that. But internally at the club, the general feeling of have we moved forward, have we gone backwards, have we tread water? What's the general consensus?
Yeah, I think at the internal perspective, Nathan, would be that we have made progress. I think if we look at we take a whole range of different indicators outside of pure team performance in the phase that we're in. We feel in terms of our list build, we feel in terms of the physical preparation and progression of our players. We feel from a pure program point of view, the individual progression of individual players this year. There's been some really good stories of positive player improvement across our list. And in the back end of our season, we've seen some wins against teams that are in the top 8. 9 out of our last 11 games this year have been against teams in and around the top 8. So to be able to have that quality of competition throughout the back end of the season and produce some really good wins and really good performances against those teams has shown that from a back end of the season point of view, we've been able to show some progression in that regard compared to last year. So we feel if we took the overall picture from a club perspective, we've made great progression. We feel that the foundations are really strong, and to Chris's point earlier in the discussion, we feel that we can add one or two really strategic players over the course of the off season. We'll be in a good position to tackle next year.
And a lot of people don't sort of understand that the midfield that you're relying on it's very young, apart from a David Swallow. When you're talking Rowell and Anderson and Fiorini and these sorts of guys, there's not many teams in the league that are relying on players that inexperienced to carry the load that they have been. And how are those players holding up a long season? Are they ready to jump on that plane and put the feet up?
They're pretty resilient lads. I refer to guys like Noah Anderson and Matt Rowell. You're 100% correct. I mean, they've gone straight into an inside mid position that typically at other clubs, and Stewie's made this comparison before at his time at Sydney, that Luke Parker spent his first 2 years playing half forward for the Sydney Swans, and then he was transitioned into the inside mid role, whereas Matty and Noah, they've been thrown straight in there pretty much from day one. Noah's playing a little bit of wing, but fundamentally he's an inside mid. So it's been wonderful education for those guys playing on the best mids week in, week out. But as you know, Nate, it's a demanding role, and it can wear you down. But the resilience and the learning that the guys have been able to build over the last 2 years, again, we think from a list build perspective, puts us in really good stead for future years.
Hainsey, it's as I said before, it's been a long couple of 3 weeks almost since the boys have been home. And what are you stuck up at the hotel in Melbourne somewhere? I guess, what have the boys been doing to keep themselves company when they haven't been able to go out in this Melbourne lockdown? Is there any pranks happening or any competitions happening within the group that can keep them sort of motivated and having a bit of fun as well at the same time?
Oh, all of that, Jono. Yeah, our group, as you've alluded to, is a really young group. So they actually love spending time together. They really enjoy getting away, and there weren't too many downcast faces when we gave them the news the other day they had to get going, because they genuinely enjoy spending time together. We've obviously had the opportunity to get out and train as we would like, but the rest of the time it has been spent at the hotel. So There's been some good table tennis competitions being played. Matt Rao was crowned the ping pong champion, which was great. And as you touched on, there's when you get a group of 25, 30, 22-year-olds together, there's a fair few pranks and a bit of fun happening as well. But it's been terrific from a staff point of view and a player point of view. That just another opportunity to build connection and build relationships, and we think that part of it's a really powerful part of what we've been undertaking.
John Haynes, General Manager of Football from the Gold Coast Suns, joining us on Grandstand AFL. John, a really great story in Alex Davies, who's making his debut today. He's been a part of your Gold Coast Suns Academy since he was 12 and finally gets his opportunity to strut his stuff on the AFL stage. Being a Queenslander myself, I've seen the growth of your academy period over many years, and I just wanted to get your perspective on how the program is going and I guess how big a role the academy will play in your list build moving forward.
Yeah, strategically it's really important for us as a club. As we know, that at the moment the majority of our list doesn't come from Queensland, but we do have about 24-25% of our list at the moment are Queensland based and from our Gold Coast region. So that's a good number, but we'd love to see that increase as well. And we're putting an enormous amount of time from an investment perspective and our strategy to how do we build the academy, both from a female point of view and a male point of view, because 80% of our AFLW team will be local Gold Coast girls as well. So it's really important for the growth of the game, firstly, but also from a list perspective and how we manage our list and our TPP. It's incredibly important as well. And Alex is the latest player to come out of that academy. He's a terrific young man from a great family, and he'll go, as we were alluding to with Maddie and Noah before, he'll play the inside mid role today in his first game. He's a big lad, really powerful, and we're looking forward to seeing what he can do today.
As are we, John. Thanks for your time on Grandstand AFL. Enjoy the flight home and hopefully kicking back and enjoying the company of family and friends once again back on the Gold Coast.
Pleasure, guys. Thanks for your time.
John Haynes, the GM of footy with the Gold Coast Suns, before the Suns take on the Swans this afternoon on Grandstand AFL. Joel Peterson and Jess Webster to call it for you. Chris Johnson and Nathan Burke, your experts from one camp to the other. Let's go into the Sydney rooms and catch up with their forward line coach, Jared McVeigh, who's been good enough to join us on Grandstand AFL. Jared, thanks very much for your time.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. Thanks for having me.
I might have just oversold a little bit, not quite in the rooms. I can actually see you just at the top of the race down there. The boys have just walked past you to go into the rooms after their warm-up. What was the mood among them before their last home and away clash of the season?
Yeah, the mood's great. I mean, you've got to kind of create your own atmosphere out here. Obviously, no one's here, so the boys are in a jovial mood, but, they're ready to go. We, the Gold Coast have got hold of us the last 4 times, so that's fair and square in our sights.
Couple of big ins for you in, of course, Franklin, Mills and Jake Lloyd. They're very, very handy inclusions. Unfortunate to see young Nick Blakey go down with a season-ending injury during the week, though. He must have been pretty shattered to be missing an incursion into finals.
Yeah, really disappointing for him. He worked, went back to the reserves throughout the year and worked really hard on his game, his competitiveness. We threw him around a little bit, but really settled him down back, and then really wrapped with the way he performed, and unfortunately for him, he'll miss the rest of the year, but it gives someone else an opportunity, and Colin O'Riordan will come in today and play and try and play that role as well. So, great opportunities for some young players to get great experience leading into the finals next week.
Jared, Chris Johnson here, mate. I guess there's been a lot of talk about Isaac Heaney about playing forward, and I guess now with Kennedy out, and obviously last week a little bit too, he went up into the midfield. Are we going to see more midfield minutes out of him coming into finals?
Probably similar to what you've seen over the last few weeks. We like him on that wing role, and then a few spurts through the centre bounces, and he's really strong over the ball. And then, he might get a mismatch sliding forward. So, look, there won't be more minutes, but, we'll just try and play that smartly and try and get a really good mismatch for him.
And your forward line's sort of taken a different shape, especially last week against North Melbourne with Will Hayward popping up and kicking a couple of goals. So you've gone for that general sort of medium-type forward. Are we going to see him again up forward, or is that going to be a bit more changed up now Buddy's back in the team?
No, look, that'll be the same. He probably played a bit taller last week when Reid went into the ruck because, we only had McLean down there, so he kind of rolls into that taller forward type guy down the line. But, you know, he played really well on Zeeble, you know, made him accountable and then really tried to hurt him. So we were wrapped with his game last week.
Go, Jared. Nathan Burke here, mate. Good luck today. McLean, tell me a little bit about him. It was very impressive, and I dare say from his performance last week and potentially what he can throw out today, there might be a few clubs come knocking on his manager's door in the off-season.
Yeah, look, we were wrapped with him. You know, he played the first 4 games here when Bud was out. Unfortunately for him, when Bud came back in, he was the one that went out, unfortunately. But look, the way he's trained, his attitude, the way he's played in the reserves has been fantastic. He got his opportunity last week and took it. And, you know, Sam Reid was the one to go out this week and, you know, based on form purely. So we're wrapped with what he did. He was strong, you know, contested mark stuff. He'll do a bit in the ruck today as well. And yeah, he's got to keep taking your chances at this time of year, and he's done that. So we've been wrapped with him.
Yeah, and congratulations. Finals again. It just seems like another year rolls around, another Sydney team in the finals, but potentially as high as 5th, but still no idea of what that means come next week.
Yeah, look, no idea, but I mean, we know we're in there and we can't move too much around, so it's about just putting in a really strong performance today and get yourself in good form as a group and as an individual. And as I said before, you know, Gold Coast have got hold of us a little bit lately, and we need to put a stop to that. You know, we're really encouraged and need to be aggressive with the ball and aggressive in defence and really get our systems up and running.
Jared, it's all business as we know, but surely over the last couple of weeks since you've been down here in Melbourne, there would have been some pranks or something happening with, we asked John Haynes that Gold Coast boys are doing that, and any competitions that the boys are mucking around within the hotel?
Oh, yeah, we've got all the pool tables delivered and air hockey and pinnies are going on, so, you know, just trying to get things going. You know, it is kind of boring sitting in your hotel room, so just to give them a different outlet to, you know, to let off that competitive spirit that they got. In table tennis, I heard before, is very similar as well. And, yeah, look, it's been great to have all that stuff going.
Well, plenty of outlet today and hopefully in the weeks to come as you go into finals as well, Jared. Thanks for your time today. All the best for what's to come for not only today, but heading into the finals with the Swans.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Tough.
Jared McVeigh from the Sydney Swans joining us on Grandstand AFL, Sydney and Gold Coast, about 18 minutes away. There's no late changes. Robbie Fox, the sub for the Swans. Jeremy Sharp, the sub for the Gold Coast Suns. Nathan Burke and Chris Johnson are your experts. Joel Peterson and Jess Webster to call the action for you this afternoon at Docklands on a beautiful day in Melbourne. The other game today is, of course, Richmond and Hawthorn, the early game. That game over across town at the MCG. Later on this afternoon, Brisbane and West Coast, Geelong and Melbourne tonight down the highway, and Carlton and the Giants to finish things off. All those games available on the AFL app if they're not on local radio in your part of the world. Let's talk the Swans first, Berkey and Jono. They're sort of the most recent conversation we've had there with Jared. How far do you think this Sydney team could go, Berkey? Have you seen them? Have they slowed down a little bit, do you think? Is this a young team that sort of made its run earlier in the season and might be pulling up a little bit heading toward the finish line? Or do you think there's still a little bit of spark in them if they can get the likes of Kennedy up and running for finals?
There's a spark. We've seen the Western Bulldogs in 2016 come from outside that top 4 and take the whole thing. I just get the sense that there's a bit of a gap between the Suns, your Kennedys and your Franklins and Parkers and those sorts of players to their lesser known players, and that consistency in being able to step up in finals and contribute just may not be there. So I reckon there's just that bit of a gap between their best and worst running around on the field, and as we know, finals teams, that gap has to be really minimal. And so look, I think they'll be dangerous, they'll do some damage potentially, but if they go on and win the grand final, well, then they need a statue of John Longmire and those senior players outside the SCG forever and a day, because that will be a super effort.
Well, we seen last week, Berkey, as well, and I'd love to get your take on it. But, you know, there was times that Sydney pressed to actually blow the game out, but to I think to North Melbourne's credit, and probably it sort of goes back to putting the cue in the rack almost at the end of last week, that, you know, North Melbourne came within 14 points. At one stage in that game, probably in the last 5 minutes, we thought North Melbourne were going to probably run over the top of them, but I think that's what they've got. That's another challenge Sydney's got today. They're coming up against the Gold Coast Suns, Jess, and then, you know, they're coming up against not a superstar team, so how do they actually negate themselves and actually put in a performance that they need? And we see what the Bulldogs put up last night, that they came out of the blocks quickly, but I'm really keen to see what the Swans can do over 4 quarters against a lesser light, because they'll take it to them.
Just on that, and Jared touched on it as well, Suns have actually won 4 of the past 5 games against the Swans since 2017. What do you think it is about Gold Coast that actually rattles the Swans a little bit? And do you think they can do it again today?
Well, I think the Swans are a fast move. They move the ball pretty fast. I think what they do lack in their forward half is that extra forward. They're probably third tall that sort of stands up. And at the moment, it's sort of that Alex Sexton type is that third tall. But they need someone else in there as well as a fourth tall potentially. I think they're too small, and I think that's probably what rattles the defence. And they move quite a lot. Watched them last week down in Geelong, and they were moving quite a bit up in their forward line, the Gold Coast Suns. But the supply just wasn't there. So if they can get their midfield, matching up with the right matchups against the Swans, I think, you look at Rao and these young guys. I think they can match it with some of these other guys that are coming through the midfield.
They took 3 marks inside forward 50 last week, the Suns, Jono. They went, what were they? 26% inside forward 50, 12 shots from 46 entries. Was it a supply issue? I mean, Ben King hasn't kicked a goal in 3 weeks. It's a big ask for him to be playing a lone hand up there essentially, and he's kicked 43 on the season, had a terrific year, but they just couldn't move the ball with any intensity really to get it in there.
Well, it was all about supply. Their whole midfield were in the back half of the ground trying to gain possession, and it was just laterally, Berkey. You just kept going side to side. At some stage, you've got to go, okay, we've gone laterally 3 times now. We've got to come back. We've actually got to take some grass, and that's what the Suns, someone within that midfield, and it's normally Touk Miller does that, but then someone else has got to put their hand up. Normally it is a Waller, and normally it is a Greenwood or an Alice that does that, but someone else has got to stand up today.
Yeah, and we spoke about the team last week that was very difficult to identify a brand or a style that they were playing. The first quarter and a bit, they just maintained possession. They just hung onto the ball. It was backwards, sideways, and had a whole bunch of marks. When they weren't allowed to do that in the second half, they didn't have anything else. They kept trying to go to the well, and it wasn't working, and that's why they got the ball inside 50, but in a very haphazard manner. So today, last game of the year, I'm really looking for a distinctive style that they're going to hang their hat on, and they're going to play. If it's the chip, well, then that's it. If it's the run pass, fly past with a handball, get the ball inside 50 to one-on-ones, well, then that's what I want to see. What is it?
We spoke about it after the game last week. It's part of the issue with them is when you come to this game, you don't know what you're going to get.
No. And that's what I want today. What is it? I don't want to see something in the first half and then something in the second half. Stick to something. See how it works. Persist. And we're quarter time. Well, hopefully we'll know what that is. Because it will be obvious.
Yeah, we'll know a little bit more about that. An interesting subplot, you mentioned it in the interview with John Haynes as well. Jono is, of course, Jared Harbrow plays his last game for the team today. He's been a tremendous servant. So 2 inaugural sons in Zach Smith and Jared Harbrow. Of course, Smith went to Geelong and then came back. Harbrow came from the Bulldogs. But he's been a real leader at that footy club over a long period of time now, and you can see with the tribute, with the warm-up tops, exactly what he means to the group.
Yeah, he does. He means a lot to the group. He's been the sort of the godfather, if you want to call it that, figure around there. He's been around so long. He gives so much to the playing group. But the one thing that impresses me about Jared is his ability to give back to the community. He's got his own foundation that he runs out of Cairns, where he's from, with his brother Mark as well. So, and really good connections with AFL Cape York House with Rick Hanlon. So that region of Cairns, we've seen Courtney Dempsey come through there as well. They're just building and building. The football up in that area is quite alive at the moment. So, you've got to make sure that we keep tapping into those areas because they produce gems like Jared Harbrow.
Even Zach Smith actually grew up in Rockhampton.
Oh, yes,
which is,
you're right.
Which is obviously further up the coast in Queensland. And he was drafted out of Zilmere, which is my family club, and was his own selection to Gold Coast as well. So it's great. I think we spoke about it before, and that the Gold Coast Suns and their academy, obviously North Queensland is their zone. So it's great that I think they have that historical connection, and then now they're also starting to draft players out of there as well. It's fantastic.
We see Davies making his debut as well today, who we'll touch on as the Swans run out. So it's the Swans and the Suns here at Docklands. We'll step away and take a break and then get Jono and Berkey's thoughts on this game on Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio and ABC News Radio.
On Hard Quiz, only the most important facets of human knowledge are put to the test.
Which US rapper's name sounds like a brand of colourful chocolate?
Topics chosen are critical to the evolution of the human race.
The palindrome rotator is what word spelled backwards?
And experts are treated with the utmost respect.
Well, I'm afraid your parachute hasn't opened this time. You are plummeting to Earth.
Catch Tom Gleeson with all new episodes of Hard Quiz. Wednesday nights on ABC TV and streaming on iView.
ABC Sport. AFL.
Get set for the deafening roar. The pent-up emotion is about to flow.
Listen to the crowd roar.
AFL.
Fans are on their feet. Can't believe what they're about to see.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season.
Grandstand AFL.
We've got a game on our hands here. This is really good, fierce stuff.
This is a fantastic game of football. Someone told me there was something wrong with our game. I can't see it today. Actually, it's a spectacular contest.
Dreamers, keep on dreaming.
Oh, the impossible angle!
Sinners, keep on sinning.
Don't go anywhere. The theatre of it all.
Winners, keep on winning.
And he dribbles one through and blows a kiss to the crowd.
Just a new day beginning.
Breaks the paint. Has a shot. Makes no mistake.
Sends it to home. A sublime strike.
Hard against the boundary. That's the classy finish.
That is sensational. Can he slide it through for the finish? Yes, he can.
Wide angle on the paint of 50. May have just snuffed through an incredible goal. Tries to fend off. Got him. Takes him to ground. Back to that Nui. Second don't argue.
Go to your best players. Go to your match winners.
Plays on man down from behind. Holding the ball.
Perfect tackle.
It might be a game saver.
Dreamers, keep on dreaming.
Ricochets to Martin. You know the rest. A razzle dazzle has arrived.
That is spectacular.
It's a new day, new day, new day beginning.
Osborne kicks the goal. Welcome to the big time.
Oh, the great mark. Outside of the boot, Eddie. Oh, he has kicked it. Makes no mistake. Goes back.
Straightens up towards goal and brings it back superbly. There's that familiar roar. Double fist salute to the crowd. They might have a new fan favourite. He'll snap. He'll go. A ripper from Gripper. Snaps off a single step and fans approve.
Grandstand AFL.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season.
Dribbles it through and ends the game.
On ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
The Swans and the Suns to finish things off in the home and away season here at Docklands on Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio and ABC News Radio throughout the ACT and the Gold Coast. Great to have your company, Joel Peterson and Jess Webster, to call the action for you this afternoon. Brisbane's three-time premiership star Chris Johnson, your expert alongside Nathan Burke, St Kilda champion and current Western Bulldogs AFLW coach. Both sides out there warming up under the roof here on a beautiful Melbourne winter's afternoon. Unfortunately, the roof closed, so we can't quite bask in the glory of it, but it is a beautiful day here. There's a game across town at the MCG, Richmond and Hawthorn. And, of course, later on this afternoon, Brisbane and West Coast before Geelong and Melbourne in the top-of-the-table clash to round us out this evening, and Carlton and the Giants. Plenty more footy to come tomorrow. You can get all those games, if they're not on local radio in your part of the world, via the AFL app. Plenty happening in terms of retirements this week, gents. Some greats of the game. We've talked about Jared Harbrow here. Zach Smith's another who's saying farewell, an inaugural son. But a really significant portion of senior players going out this weekend. So you've got Alistair Clarkson at the MCG today, who's at least saying farewell from a Hawthorn perspective and the legacy that he leaves there. Sean Burgoyne saying goodbye to the game. In the same game, David Asprey leaves for the Tigers. We know Basher Hall is retired, effective immediately. Tonight, Eddie Betts leaves, who has been one of the great players for not only his on-field exploits but his off-field exploits over the years. He is probably the most beloved figure in football, and he says goodbye to the game tonight. It's a significant one. We see this every year, but it's rare that we have players of such ilk all go out at the same time, Berkey.
Yeah, Mark Murphy's another one in that group. And Jono, we're losing a quality group of Indigenous players that hopefully we can continue to celebrate what they've done and brought to the game. But you've got a list there, and Stephen Hill's another one, Kane Booker, Dylan Robertson at St Kilda, obviously for injury reasons, but Jonathan Patton, Chris Mayne, David McKay, Lin Jong,
Sean McKernan from the Saints as well.
Absolutely.
More recently,
Jake Carlisle from the Saints, Levi Greenwood, Jared Harbrow, Zach Smith, Tom Scully. I didn't realise Tom was going as well.
Yeah, that was. He's just lost the motivation.
He was before the start of the season.
Yeah, he had actually identified mental health-wise that he lost the motivation because at such a young age he was so committed to playing football at sort of at an AFL level at sort of that 15 to 16 age, and he was doing it, and it just burnt him out.
Yeah.
So he was one, that came up with. The other one that I'm really pleased about, got a call from him a couple of weeks ago, was Tommy Rockcliffe. Obviously, I had a lot to do with him at Brisbane, and he came in, he tried out for our rookie list, and these are the stories that I love, is when you see someone has actually gotten everything they possibly can out of their body and out of their talent and out of their whole sort of, I guess, body physicality.
Started just as a battler from Benalla.
Yeah, exactly. And seeing him change, like he came in on the rookie list, then got elevated to the list, and then led the club captain, I reckon, for a couple of years, and then he obviously knew that the Brisbane Lions wasn't the place for him.
He was All-Australian one year, I reckon.
He was, and then he moved over to the Power, and he actually helped them a few times get over a couple of games, and then obviously things just didn't go his way, and now he's now sitting on the bench and helping out as a coaching in a coaching capacity. So I love seeing those type of players that retire and they want to give back to the game, Berkey. I love it.
And it was great that he got a final in last year too, because I think he was the longest tenured player in AFL history who hadn't played a final. It was about 250-something games and he hadn't played a final, so he got to tick that off.
And you can go through all of those players that you mentioned before, Berkey, and there'd be a great story behind it.
Yep.
A great football story that you can look back and use as a motivation to the girls that you coach, or to a young fella that's coming through the ranks.
The good thing is for those guys, we get to celebrate them now. You feel sorry for the guys who the next week are going to get the tap on the shoulder and say, that was your last game.
Yeah.
That's the players that you really feel sorry for. At least these guys, they get to go out and have one last crack.
The unfortunate reality of the business, isn't it? A couple of minutes away from bounce down here under the roof at Docklands, the Swans and the Suns, more broadly on the competition. Sort of as we go into the rest of this round, we saw Port and the Bulldogs last night. How do you line them up, Berkey? Who are you taking into the finals as maybe a number one seed that you like to go all the way?
No one.
They're all trying
That's a good call.
Muck it up, aren't they?
to be totally honest, no
you
one.
can find reasons to not like the teams more than I reckon you can find reasons to like them.
Yes, I can find faults in Melbourne, but they're sitting on top of 8. I can find faults in Geelong, especially with Tom Stewart being out now. But you know, you don't get to first, second, third on the ladder by accident, by fluking it. You're a good team. You've got to win enough games to get there. So they all deserve to be where they are. But I think on any given day, each one of those teams is capable of a stinker and getting beaten by someone who they shouldn't get beaten by. So I don't have total faith in anyone, which makes, for a neutral observer, makes this final series really interesting.
And we may, for the second year, have neutral venues for most of the clubs as well. Jono, do you have a team that you like going into September?
Look, I don't have a team.
Finals,
I don't have a team, but what I do have is a sort of a dream. It'd be fantastic. Yes. My dad's a Melbourne supporter, and my younger son's a Melbourne supporter as well. So they, looking at Melbourne and what they've produced, obviously we know them when they went over to Perth a few years ago and got absolutely pumped by the Eagles, and now they sort of sit at that sort of top end of the ladder that they could get a double chance, and they probably more in a seat where they can go all the way more than any other year. So for me, it's Melbourne supporters. I feel sorry for them if they do go all the way, and I'm going to hang my heart on it. And obviously, I'd love to see the Lions in it, but Dad's getting on a bit now, so I'd love for him to see a premiership of Melbourne. He converted my son across. Him and Aaron Davey together both converted my son across, and so for me, it's more of a sort of an emotional sort of connection to Melbourne.
I like that.
Quick question: do we play finals home ground advantage or where there's crowds?
Crowds.
I think at this
Yes.
stage.
Crowds, absolutely.
I play home ground advantage.
Ever the contrarian Nathan Burke on Grandstand AFL. A tip for today, Swans and the Suns, who are about to get ready. Berkey?
I think the Swans are going to get their noses ahead in the last 8 minutes.
All right. Jono?
Yeah, I think the Swans, if as Berkey said, that no one's really reliable in the top 8, but if they can be reliable and know what we've got, or know what they can produce, I think the Swans, as we see Heaney actually go to the wing, which we were speaking to McVeigh about a little bit earlier, so he's starting up on the wing, which is a good sign.
And Buddy rolling down inside 50 at the Lockett end, under the roof here at Docklands. We say goodbye to the Suns in season 2021. The Swans are going to kick on. Can Gold Coast continue a really good run of recent form against Sydney? Let's find out on Grandstand AFL. You're with Jess Webster.
And it's Zach Smith against Tom Hickey in the ruck as Hickey wins this one. And coming through is Swallow. He lets go of it. Papley, high kick towards half forward. Franklin out on the lead and marks. He's 70 from goal. He'll wheel around quickly, gain a few metres and then just kick to full forward. It's going all the way and it's through. Buddy Franklin does what Buddy Franklin does best. 22 seconds into the first term and he has Sydney's first. One straight 6, the Suns yet to score. A fast start to the Sydney Swans.
Berkey, we got 9 to go.
For the listeners, John, I did predict that Lance would kick 10 today. So you've always given him a one head start the first 20 seconds of the game. He's marked that ball 5 metres inside the centre square. And he's wheeled around to the left as he was always going to do. The poor player on the mark felt sorry for him because he was waiting for the umpire to call play on. And he was standing there pleading with the umpire saying he's run around. Eventually, when the umpire did say he played on, by the time he got to Lance, he'd banged one from about 56 metres, landed on the goal line, and he's basically starting the game with a goal. How nice is that?
That's incredible. He was restless after the week off. He wanted to get straight into the action and did so. From the middle, the Swans come forward again, or at least Parker tried to. Tackled off the footy by Miller of the Suns. Spills around to Swallow, who tumbles the Suns inside the forward 50. Back there was Malikan for the Swans. He tried to clear. Got it out to Dawson. Had a fumble inside the defensive 50. Mills goes through. His handball stolen. Spills to Fiorini. Throws it on his non-preferred right. Tumbles it toward goal and misses to the right. So a fast start for both sides. The Suns with a minor. The Swans with a major. The margin 5 the way of Sydney through 2 minutes.
So Lloyd to bring it back in for the Swans. He's back in the side this week. Elects to just kick the Swans to right half back. Heaney in front rises and takes a nice mark over Atkins. It's 5 metres inside the boundary line at right half back. Short kick on the 45 goes back to Lloyd. They're at defensive 50, the Swans. So now's called to play on Jake Lloyd. Just elects to thump it down the outer wing. Franklin gets hands to it, can't complete the mark, and then just palms off Rowell. Handballs backwards to McInerney, then to Mills, now to Parker. They're inside the centre square. Handballs to Dawson. Gives it out wide to McCartan, has a fumble. Handballs backwards to Buddy Franklin. They're now on the broadcast wing as he kicks a nice pass inside 50, and coming out on the lead is Hayward.
Well, I don't know why they didn't go forward a little earlier. They just kept coming lateral. They had one-on-ones forward, and all that space there was open where the ball's gone right now for Hayward. But it was just, I think, just a bit of waxing going on in the middle of the ground.
That was a kick from Buddy.
That was a good field kick. He's a ripping field kick.
So Hayward, he kicked 3 last week. He'll let go from 40 metres out. It's across the face of goal, and it's through for a minor score. So Sydney 1-1-7, Gold Coast 1 behind, 3 minutes played in the opening term.
Well, Gold Coast's kick-ins last week was about unimaginative as you could possibly get. At least they've learnt.
Out to this side, Berkey. Willpower drives it low, and it's cut off by Dawson, who's got it at left half forward for Sydney. Pokes it inside the 50, finds Papley, who is 48 metres from home, 10 in from the boundary at left half forward for the Swans.
their issue was that last week it was Lukosius kicking in, and he got an extra 10-15 metres on that kick, and that's where all the Suns players were set up, but the ball landed 10 metres in front of them to the Sydney player.
Tom Papley kicked a couple last week. This will test his journey from just outside the 50. Starts at left, stays there, minus score. Margin 7 points the way of the Swans. 4 minutes gone opening term on Grandstand AFL.
Well, the player that's took that ball forward inside the forward 50, he's had a pretty good month in Jordan Dawson. He's been playing some pretty good football off a half-back flank.
So Powell from the kick in runs 10 metres into the pocket, then long kick out towards the wing position. It's off hands, boundary line beats all, and we'll have a throw in just short of true centre wing position, dockside.
So the kicking coordinator with the Gold Coast Suns has been really enjoying his holiday down here in Melbourne. Hasn't been speaking a lot about
lost his pen again.
Let's keep count. There's 2 kick-ins, exactly the same spot.
So from the boundary throw in, coming through Ainsworth for the Suns. His handball to Anderson, can't collect. Now Heaney for the Swans picks it up, handballs backwards to Parker. And going backwards to Loy, who kicks towards defensive 50 where McCartan marks and kicks across the ground. And Cunningham marks it right half back.
150th game from the Wagga product this afternoon. Cuts it up the middle of the ground. Goulden slides in, takes it on a knee. A kick and a half from home for the Swans. Low left foot kick inside the 50. Out to meet it was Smith. Got a clearing fist. Lemons is there. Worried out of it by Franklin inside the forward 50 for the Swans. Parker's handball to Heaney. Heaney finds Mills. And Callum Mills finds a rare goal for the Swans. Only his 6th of the year playing full-time midfield. Back into the team. Back on the goal-kicking list. And the Swans have got a couple to start things off here at Docklands. 2-2-14. The Suns 1 behind through 5.5 minutes of the opening quarter.
The goal won't go next to his name, but it was the ability of Buddy to get over and keep that ball inside the forward 50. He was on all the way through that link of handballs, but just kept encouraging. You could just see him. He obviously wanted the ball, but they just couldn't get it to him in the area he was. But just nice one-step kick for Mills there. He's a massive inclusion. He's had a good month of footy as well compared to after his before he was injured, and he's going to play a big part in their side coming into finals.
So debutant Alex Davies for the Gold Coast Suns has just run onto the ground straight into this centre bounce, opposing Rowbottom. As Hickey and Smith will contest this ruck battle. The umpire slams it into the turf. Hickey wins the tap straight down to Hewitt. He's tackled by Miller. Let's go with the footy. Coming through Heaney. Has a couple of goes at it. Fiorini now picks it up and just hurries the kick towards half forward. O'Riordan in front spot takes the mark at centre half back.
Mills has come off the ground after kicking the goal and getting some attention on that right ankle, and he's had the Achilles injury for a couple of weeks, so let's hope that hasn't flared up as the Suns go back inside the 50. Fiorini pokes it to the pocket, looking for Burgess. Ground level footy. Davies goes past for the Suns. Can't take possession. McPherson dives in over the top of it. A couple of Swans dive on him, and he's pinged because he jumped on top of it and didn't try and get rid of it. So a free kick inside defensive 50 going to Lewis Malikan of the Swans, who lead by 13 points through 7 minutes of the opening term. Malikan whacks it up the City wing. Hickey in the pack. Free kick going to McLean, who got one over the shoulder, and in fact, no, it's going to Tom Hickey, who Isaac Heaney threw the ball away from him, so he jogs to collect it. Just defensive side of the City wing. Tom Hickey can drive the Swans forward.
It's a good game today to finish off the season. He has to be...
Hickey's kick to go to Rampy. It had too much on it, and Swallow marks for the Suns. He gives it to McPherson, who kicks it into the forward pocket for the Suns. Burgess playing up forward, runs onto it, gets around on his right, a snap kick towards the hot spot. Numbers favour the Swans. Cunningham goes up. Jeffrey stayed down. He tries to track it and eventually goes over the boundary line. We'll have a throw in 10 metres around from the Suns' goal.
And that's where the Swans lack their ability to hit targets inside forward 50. Burgess was out. He was out then. It was the kick by McPherson. Just didn't give it to him in his advantage.
So ball in, Suns forward 50. Smith with first spot. Parker, though, roves the footy. Is tackled high. Is he? Yes. Wins the free kick for the Swans.
Around the ground, 6 minutes to go in the first quarter at the MCG. It's a high-scoring affair with Richmond 1-1-7, Hawthorn 1-1-7.
The shootout on at the MCG. Here it's the Swans by 13. Couple of handballs inside the defensive 50 through Cunningham and now to Parker, who kicks into the centre square for the Swans. Franklin can't take the mark. Collins knocked it away from him, chips it forward. Burgess got run down by Buddy, thrown into the turf. Umpire says ball up. Franklin thought he had the free kick for all money. He pinched the ball off Chris Burgess and was going back behind the mark. He was shocked that the umpire didn't pay it. No whistle for Buddy on that occasion from the stoppage. Rowbottom kicks the Swans out of centre half back. A bouncing ball in front of Lukosius and Heaney. That'll be an entertaining duel. An awkward moment on the outer side. Falling over right at the critical moment was Farah, and he got caught high, so he's been given 50. The number 50 streams forward for the Suns down the city wing.
He's taken off and then loops the pass to centre half forward, misses the intended target in Fiorini, and then now coming through is Cunningham for the Swans. He got caught high and wins the free kick at centre half back.
Well, they just need to clean that up, the Suns. There was so many players that were free for the Suns inside their forward 50. You know, you said last week there was only 3, Josh and Joel. It's got to be better than that.
So Heaney with the footy on the wing, a lovely pass towards half forward. Papley marks 50 metres out from goal. So from right half forward, Tom Papley might be going back and having a shot here. And no, he just elects to kick it towards a dangerous spot. McPherson sitting in the hole for the Suns and takes the mark.
So McPherson in the back 50. Suns trail by 13 points through 10 minutes of the opening term. Joel Peterson and Jess Webster calling it for you on Grandstand AFL. Nathan Burke and Chris Johnson, your experts. Nice kick from McPherson, finds Ballard inside the back 50 for the Suns. South Australians had a good year. Chips it short to his fellow Adelaide product in Lukosius, who goes across the face of goal, and Dawson swallows it up. Kick off the outside of the boot, couldn't find Harbrow, and Jordan Dawson will go back from inside forward 50 and try and kick his 9th goal of the season, the Swans' 3rd today.
Well, disposal efficiency is 53% for the Gold Coast Suns. That's not going to cut it against the Swans.
This man, normally a beautiful left foot kick. That one fades across the face. It's a minus score. But Sydney doing all the scoring. 2-3. They lead the Suns 1 behind. Early stages here at Docklands.
Oh, here we go. 3 in a row.
Lukosius to bring the ball back in for the Suns. Kick short this time, and Farah marks just inside the boundary line, 50 metres out. He's turned it over again. His kick has gone straight to McInerney, who marks between wing and half forward for the Swans. So McInerney, short kick finds Hewitt, 70 metres from goal. Wheels around, low pass inside 50. Franklin rises and marks. And he'll have a shot on goal for his 2nd from about 30 metres out, pretty much directly in front.
Well, as you've called it on a few occasions now, Berkey, they've come out to this side, on the broadcast side, on their kick-ins, not working for them. They've got to have a plan B. They can't keep coming out here, and they can't even get it past their half-back line. That's the big issue, is that they can get it outside defensive 50, but they can't get it outside defensive 70.
The countdown to 1,000 goals is well and truly on for Lance Franklin. Already got 1 in the opening 20 seconds. This one is pushed it to the left. Does he not know he has a milestone coming up? Minus score to Sydney, 2-3-15. The Suns 1 behind. We've played 12 minutes in the opening term.
The Suns have had 21 disposals and they've mucked up 10 of them. They're going at 52% disposal efficiency. And the Sydney side have gone inside 56 times and had 6 shots a goal.
Chipping it around inside the defensive 50 here, the Suns. Powell goes back to Harbrow, who's in the right back pocket. Harbrow chips to the defensive goal square. Atkins has to find his way out of trouble. Steps around Franklin. Handball over to Miller, still in the back 50 here, the Suns. Miller loops it over to Powell, who does well to shoot the handball back to Miller. Now he retreats by hand to Harbrow, still hemmed inside the back 50 here, Gold Coast. Sexton has a go. Low down, it's knocked inside the forward 50 for the Swans by Parker. Ricochets back the other way through Miller, and he's able to find McPherson just inside the field of play for the Suns. Outside of the boot, kicks up the wing, and Corbett comes into mark. Centre wing, Dockside.
He's got a player out the back in King. He's found a bit of space. He approaches forward 50 from the boundary line. Kicks towards goal. Is it on target? Hits the post as it bounces towards goal. Another minus score for the Suns as the Swans are quick to bring it in, and McInerney has the ball inside defensive 50.
Plays on to Lloyd. Lloyd over the top to Rowbottom, and now back to the run of McInerney, who's had a terrific season, has to be in rising star contention. Floats the kick over the head of Florent. Oh, they've mucked it up, coming the other way though, the Swans. Florent gets another chance, shoved as he kicked. A bouncing ball at full forward. Ballard's there. Franklin brings him down. Great tackle again from Buddy, who is energised early. And a ball up inside forward 50 for the Swans.
It's going to get ugly, guys, if the Suns don't clean up their decision-making. The decision-making is really, really poor at the moment.
They've looked like a side that's playing for the line early. The Suns, they don't look like they want to be here all that much as Heaney strolls to the pocket, curls it home, and they won't want to be here anymore after that. Isaac Heaney from the right forward pocket, off the instep, bends it home beautifully. And the Swans are out by 20 points halfway through the opening term. Sydney 3-4-22. The Suns 2 behinds. 14 minutes played in the first quarter.
Do you know how I said the Suns will sew this game up 8 minutes to go in the last quarter? Well, I meant 8 minutes into the first quarter they'll sew this game up, because at the moment, the way that's being played, they're in for a really, really big win. They've had 7 inside 50s and they've had 7 shots for 3 goals for. 53 disposals to 35. The efficiency going inside 50 for the Suns, which is always an issue, is down at 33%. Interesting decision by Ben King, the last inside 50. He had 2 players running along inside. Could have handballed to them, ran to around about 20 and had a shot. He had a shot from 40 which hit the post. So that goes to show that I'm a bloke who hasn't kicked a lot of goals lately, and they're going to take every opportunity, which is not great team play.
From the restart, Parker Roves gives it to O'Riordan, who kicks to the wing and finds Mills. Kicks it inside, forward 50. Franklin out the back. He got rid of a couple of opponents, now on his hands and knees. It spills to Wicks. And I think the umpire has pulled out a free kick.
Buddy
going
threw
the
it.
Suns' way. I think Buddy Franklin did throw it. And
spiked it like an NFL centre back to the quarterback.
Lukosius would take the free kick for the Suns.
Did you mention he has a milestone coming up before, Jess? He does. He's on 699 behinds in his career, Buddy.
Including the one earlier?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so maybe that's what he's trying to tick them off in sequential order, get the behinds before the 1,000th goal as the ball goes out on the City side wing. It'll be thrown back into play.
There's a City player getting up, hobbling quite severely there on that right ankle, it looks like. Just check who it is.
Colin O'Riordan, who was the sub last week for the Swans coming into the game. He's almost going to get the footy there. Dawson looped the handball over his head from the stoppage. Malikan guides a kick down the wing to Wicks, who takes a good mark over Harbrow just in front of the wing for Sydney. Comes back to the logo for Dawson on the City side of the ground. And the mark hasn't been manned correctly. Dawson pointed it out straight away that Ainsworth had stepped across the mark. And Jordan Dawson will have another set shot attempt from just inside the 50. No, he'll lay it off looking for Heaney, and Rowell's there for the Suns to intercept and shoot it short to Fiorini in the back 50.
So Fiorini kicks short to Lukosius, still inside defensive 50 are the Suns. Lukosius now kicks long down the dockside wing. And it's off hands, and Melican to Hewitt. And ball's backwards to Cunningham, who retreats further. Does a 1-2 with McInerney. Cunningham now kicks all the way back inside defensive 50, where Colin O'Riordan's all alone 20 metres from goal. Kicks across the face where Florent marks.
So Ollie Florent plays on, looks up, goes into the centre corridor. Lovely kick for Mills. Mills a handball to Heaney. Heaney's got Campbell all alone at right half forward. Takes the mark on the paint of the 50. Looks up, assesses his options. Goulden screaming for it to come in long. Campbell goes to the right forward pocket and finds Jordan Dawson inside the 50 again. And Dawson's tied up against the boundary line in the right forward pocket, 45 out. Right side for a left footer.
What a benefit of a long, low kick into the middle of the ground, one handball, then the ball's inside 50 at the other end. Great football to watch.
Jordan Dawson from 47 metres out sends it on its way, and that is beautiful. He makes amends from the set shot. And the Swans have got 4 on the board, and they are really kicking away early doors. 4-4-28. The Suns 2 behinds through 18 minutes of the first term. Your experts on Grandstand AFL are Nathan Burke and Chris Johnson.
Well, they need to turn things around really quickly here, the Suns. They're being non-competitive at the moment. They are getting beaten in terms of the decision-making with ball in hand, not making the right choices. They want to go short. There's no real sort of chemistry between their midfields and their forwards. In the other hand, with the Swans, they're able to do as they like off the half-back flank and then come through the middle of the ground. And this is why they've probably almost had, I think it's eight shots on goal, not 8 shots on goal at the moment. So the Gold Coast Suns need to smarten their act up a little bit here.
Quarter time at the MCG. It is Richmond by a goal, 20 points to 14 against the Hawks, spoiling Alistair Clarkson's last day.
Beautiful tap from Hickey in the middle to Hewitt, who slams it on the boot and kicks the Swans inside 50 again. It bounces and Campbell taps it towards Papley. He overruns it. Coming through Ballard for the Suns. He taps it in the direction of Lemons, gets the kick around the corner. It dribbles along the ground. Swans playing forward deliberate. They won't get it. It'll be a throw-in 60 metres around from the Swans' goal.
Ball will be tossed in. Hickey stands hands on knees as he waits for Zach Smith to wander over and they engage in ruck. Hickey sort of swims his way to the front in the end. Ball spills his way, jams it on the boot inside the 50. Free kick going to the Suns. Lukosius had a chop at the arms by Wicks. He blasted the ball up the wing, but not to advantage. And so Jack Lukosius, who leads the AFL in metres gained, and I reckon most of those kicks would be to the exact same spot on the ground, Berkey. He's inside the defensive 50. He's looking to the broadcast side. He's going to kick it exactly where he kicks 90% of his kicks, to centre wing on the broadcast side. He's found a target in King, who's been able to mark, cuts it in field. Campbell knocked it away from Swallow for the Swans. A timely intervention. The ball's in the hands of Cunningham inside the defensive 50. Set McLean a task with the kick out at right half-back. His handball looking for Dawson, pinched by Sexton, who handballs off to Harbrow, who lines up from outside 50, gives it a really good roost, but it's just away to the left. That would have been a really nice moment at his final game for the Suns. Margin 25 points, 20 minutes gone opening term.
Any slow play around 60 metres out from the Suns' goal, I reckon Jared will be floating around the back there trying to get one, but good luck to him. Hopefully he does.
The Swans share it around their defensive 50. McCartan kicks to Rowbottom at left half back. It's marked just inside the boundary line. So Rowbottom just loads up and drives a kick down the broadcast wing. Hickey almost beats two, but spilt it at the last moment. In there is McLean. He can't gather it. Powell goes in for the Suns. It's flicked out the back to Hickey, who gives it to Rowbottom. Just hurries the kick towards half forward, and Papley takes a great contested mark over Sean Lemons. He's marked 50 metres out from goal, 45-degree angle.
That's pretty much a difference when they're going forward, the Swans. They're actually competing at every opportunity they can in an aerial contest or a ground level contest. We can't say the same for the Suns.
So Papley just kicks it towards a dangerous position, 30 metres out from goal. It's off hands. Hewitt handballs to, I think that's Goulden, who snapped it on his left and kicks another goal for the Sydney Swans. They've kicked 5 in this opening term. They lead 5-4-34, 3 behinds to the Suns. 22 minutes played opening term.
There's a lot of Gold Coast players standing there with their hands on their hips going, well, who was on him? Who was on him? Well, there was about half a dozen of you on nobody. So don't all look at each other. Somebody on the outside of the pack, you've got to go and pick up those players. It can't just be 50-50 when you're in your defence, because if your team win it, great, you get a handball out the back and off you go. If Sydney win it, who are harder and they've got such great small forwards, you've got to say, well, the fair chance is that Sydney are going to win this footy. I'm going to go pick up that bloke on the outside. And Goulden just stood there all by himself, and there was 3 or 4 Gold Coast Suns players all wanting the ball to come to them, not thinking about, you know what, I'll do the team thing and I'll pick up the play and stop them getting a goal.
14th goal of the campaign for Errol from the middle. Fiorini jams it inside forward 50 for the Suns. O'Riordan a chance. Taken down at full forward was Corbett. Ainsworth has a go. He can't come up with it. Malikan's there for Sydney to McInerney across the defensive goal face. Chips it short for Lloyd. Knee soreness kept him out of the team last week. He's been busy on re-entry this afternoon. Chips it back to McInerney, who runs off right half back for Sydney. Drives a low kick down the City side wing over the head of Campbell. Farah intercepts for the Suns. Turns infield. Sexton. Handball back to Farah. Ran into Hickey. That's never a good place to be. Free kick coming to Sydney now. He'll cut it through the middle as George Hewitt stretches to mark.
And he's got a bit of room to move as Hewitt goes for a run, sends in the Buddy direction, and he's got space and marks. 45 metres out, 45-degree angle.
Not much Sam Collins could do about that. Here he goes.
And Buddy just wheels around on that famous left boot, has a ping at goal and nails it. Buddy Franklin's got 2 goals in the opening term, and Sydney Swans are doing a number on Gold Coast. 6-4-40 plays 3 behinds, 24 minutes into the opening term.
Well, as I was saying just before he started to wheel around onto his favoured left foot, there's not much that Sam Collins could have done there. They had numbers coming through the middle of the ground. They could have raffled it off who was going to kick it inside forward 50. And Buddy had done his work early and really checked Sam Collins. And then he had all the spaces to his left, and all the kick needed to be weighted in his advantage, and it was. And he really picks up that, he identifies it really quickly when he's in that range of having a shot, and knows that he can arc around when it's called play on. In the set shot, it's sort of, he struggles with it, but certainly there, he's quick to identify that. 8 to go, Berkey.
92 to 47 disposals in favour of the Swans.
Yeah, it's been a shellacking. 15 to 8, the inside 50 count. Miller will nearly get another one for the Suns here. Finds King. Ben King's been lively early. He marks on the attacking point of the centre square. Chips it to full forward. Someone's lost a boot at full forward. Might be Dave Swallow, I think, who's missing a shoe. Goulden's now in the defensive goal square for the Swans. Collects it off hands. Tumbles it out toward the numbers of the defensive 50. Bounces off the head of King. A free kick will go to McCartan. The Swans take advantage through Heaney and McInerney, who kicks down the wing looking for Franklin, who can't quite juggle it inside the field of play. Collins did enough to worry him out of it. And we'll have a boundary throw in attacking side of the broadcast wing for the Suns, but they haven't done much attacking. They trail by 37 points through 25 minutes of the opening term.
The umpire flicks it back into play. Fiorini will track this one. He collects and handballs backwards to Anderson. It goes backwards to Miller, then hands it back to Fiorini. And the umpire's found a free kick. They're bringing it back to Miller.
Just the first disposal for Noah Anderson this afternoon, Jess. He's had a couple of good weeks, but quiet so far.
So Miller short to Harbrow. Just near the AFL logo on the dockside wing. Harbrow kicks backwards to Collins at centre half back. He kicks it back to Harbrow, who marks it right half back. The Suns aren't going very far.
Well, this is what we seen last week, didn't we? We seen them chip it around, and no one really wanted to take the bullet between the teeth and actually go forward.
Harbrow thumps it down the line. McInerney's across to knock it out of play. It'll be a throw in. Again, underneath our broadcast position, just attacking side of the wing for the Suns. Round 23 in this home and away season in 2021. Sydney going to play finals. The Suns season ends today. Can they finish on a positive note? So far, there hasn't been much to like as Davies kicks inside the 50 for the Suns. Gets out the back. O'Riordan's there to collect on the last line for Sydney. Handballs it looking for Lloyd. A looping ball finds him. He shoots the handball through to Heaney. Low kick finds McInerney inside the defensive 50.
Terrible forward set up by the Gold Coast Suns. There's a stoppage 70 metres out from goal, and every one of their plays was up on the 50. They win the stoppage, kick the ball inside 50, and the Swans get the ball every time.
McInerney short to Mills, who gives it to Florent, who lopes down the outer wing and kicks inside 50, but Collins front spot over Franklin and takes the mark for the Suns, and then kicks across the face to Lemons, who keeps switching the ball to Anderson, who's marked in the right back pocket.
Yeah, Buddy gave that kicker a bit of a mouthful then. You can tell he's on today. He can see a bag as much as you can, Jono.
So Anderson kicks towards defensive 50 and McPherson takes a contested mark just inside the boundary line.
Just concerned at the moment with the whole Gold Coast structure at the moment. We've obviously got Zach Smith as a ruckman. He's trying to get the ball in the back pocket, Berkey.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be down the line in case, there's nothing else to go to. You're the last resort to get the ball drawn to you. And even now, he's trying to get it in the corridor. He needs to be setting up forward, half forward, so he can actually give a contest into there.
Strong mark taken by Swallow, defensive side of the wing. Goes defensively to Farah. Farah to Lemons on the back point of the centre square. 28 gone opening term. Swans by 37 have the only 6 goals in the game. The Suns for much of the match haven't looked like it. It's a nice kick from Lemons. Directs it to McPherson just inside the boundary line in front of the interchange gates, and he comes back to Swallow, who's again on the defensive side of the wing.
So as it seconds count down towards quarter time as Swallow just kicks it long down the broadcast wing and pack forms off hands. Davies, the debutant for the Swans, gets around one and kicks inside 50, but nobody home for the Gold Coast Suns as it trickles through for a minor score, the 4th of the Suns in the first quarter. They trail by 36 points, 28 minutes gone final term.
Again, why you haven't got somebody deep leading at Davies coming out of that stoppage so he can kick the ball to them.
Exact same kick, wasn't it?
Exactly. There's a player standing in the corridor waving their arms with 3 Sydney players around them, so the forward line setup is just disastrous.
Swans come outside the defensive 50 towards Heaney. Anderson whacks it back inside the arc for the Suns, and that really sums up the frustration they'd be feeling. A dominant opening term from Sydney, who kick 6 goals, 4 to open up their best opening quarter of the season, and they lead by 36 points at quarter time. The Swans 6 goals, 4, the Suns 4 behinds at quarter time. You're listening to Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio and ABC News Radio.
Step back to the 80s.
Standby control room.
Good evening and welcome to News at 6.
The world is changing.
The Mikhail Gorbachev.
Second explosion here on Russell Street.
TV news is changing.
60 Minutes are sending female reporters to war zone.
You're a war zone on 2 legs.
For a star newsreader and promising young reporter,
You know you're incredible.
it's a roller coaster ride.
Please don't tell anyone. Here we go again.
The Newsreader.
Bloody magic.
Sunday nights on ABC TV and streaming on iView.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Huckley, high kick towards half forward. Franklin out on the lead and marks. He's 70 from goal. He'll wheel around quickly, gain a few metres and then just kick to full forward. It's going all the way and it's through. Buddy Franklin does what Buddy Franklin does best. 22 seconds into the first term and he has Sydney's first. 1 straight 6 to Suns yet to score. A fast start to the Sydney Swans.
Berkey, we've got 9 to go.
Franklin inside the forward 50 for the Swans. Parker's handball to Heaney. Heaney finds Mills, and Callum Mills finds a rare goal for the Swans. Goulden screaming for it to come in long. Campbell goes to the right forward pocket and finds Jordan Dawson inside the 50 again. Dawson's tied up against the boundary line in the right forward pocket, 45 out. Jordan Dawson from 47 metres out sends it on its way, and that is beautiful.
Hewitt goes for a run, sends it the Buddy direction, and he's got space and marks. 45 metres out, 45-degree angle. And Buddy just wheels around on that famous left boot, has a ping, a goal, and nails it.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Quarter time here at Docklands. Really fast, frenetic start from Sydney. 6-4-40, their best opening term of the season. 20 seconds in, Buddy Franklin had the first of the game. To the Suns, 4 behinds through the first term on Grandstand AFL. Joel Peterson and Jess Webster calling the action for you. Great to have your company on ABC Radio and ABC News Radio. Chris Johnson and Nathan Burke are your experts. Burkey around the grounds. Richmond and Hawthorn the other game.
Sorry, Joel. Yes, at the MCG, 15 minutes to go before half-time. It's a close one. Richmond 3-3-21. Hawthorn 4-3-27.
Couple of goals. Tom Lynch for the Tigers and Phillips just snapping one through for the Hawks. And nice work. The beautiful conditions outside in Melbourne this afternoon. Hopefully it stays that way across the course of the weekend. Hopefully it's nice in your part of the world, wherever you're listening to us this afternoon. Shane in Coffs Harbour says, thanks for the excellent call, team. I drove the family up to Carrara to see the Swans turn in an insipid performance, to say the least, in round 6. They got cleaned up, Shane. Good to see they've learned their lesson. Absolutely they have. They're out by 36 points at quarter time. Chris Johnson and Nathan Burke. That was a very fast start from Sydney. Jono, any worries that we had about Sydney's recent record against the Gold Coast were pretty quickly assuaded?
They were. Buddy was on fire, and obviously Mills had that quick early shot as well. And Papley's done some nice things. Hasn't been able to get on the scoreboard yet, but their midfield, their back line are working quite in sync with each other. But I guess, the Gold Coast Suns coaching staff are going to have to assess things at half-time. And they would have assessed it here at quarter-time, but they're going to have to potentially, Berkey, go old style. If this score keeps blowing out, they haven't had a major yet. They've only kicked the 4 behinds, but if this scoreboard blows out, they're going to have to probably go old style, man-on-man around the ground. And we did speak about what the Gold Coast are lacking in their forward line, Berkey, is around that third tall or that fourth type of forward at the moment, because as you've pointed out a couple of times, they've gone forward and just nobody there at home at all from a stoppage in their forward line, the Gold Coast Suns. So they've got a little bit of work to do, but certainly the Sydney Swans are finally tuning their game plan to come into finals.
Yeah, and right, and Sydney, there's a few players there, not many of them, there's a few players there going, hey, finals next week, I need to play well. You can tell they're really up and about and driving the team as well, but it's 110 possessions to 66 in favour of the Swans, obviously. Inside 50, 16 to 11 in favour of the Swans. But the key one is marks inside 50, 9 to 0. No, I'm not sure what the record marks inside 50 is, but if they end up with 36, well, then that'd be a world record.
Well, they might get the world record.
They could very well be. But in terms of individual possessions, McInerney with 10, Lloyd with 10, Heaney with 9, which is good, Parker with 8, Cunningham with 7, and then you finally get the first Gold Coast player, Fiorini with 7, then Mills 7, Dawson 7, then Harbrow with 6.
You know I like a challenge when you mention these kind of things.
I do. I threw that out deliberately for you, Joel.
Round 11, 2006, Port Adelaide and Hawthorn. Power had 38.
So we're on track. 50. We're on track for 36.
Highest this season was Geelong with 28 against Fremantle.
I reckon we'll beat that. Could be a season's best, like the Diamonds League. It's season's best.
Exactly right. Second term underway under the roof here at Docklands. The Swans by 36 as we head into it. The opening possession through Noah Anderson, who's tackled by James Rowbottom for the Swans. Mills then wraps up Smith. And we'll have another ball up. Swans kicking to the Coventry end here in this second term. Zach Smith has another go at the ruck contest. Lloyd might have got in the back of Ainsworth there in the centre of the ground. He did. Benworth will take the free kick between the centre circles and the back edge of the centre square for the Suns, who are in their away blue this afternoon. Sorry to any Gold Coast supporters, it's one of the worst uniforms you'll see on an AFL team, as that's a lovely kick from Powell. The stretch from Miller. Miller's kick knocked down by Mills. Ricochets back to Miller. Handball to Lemons now, who feigned one way and then drives it inside forward 50 to the pocket looking for King. McCartan with him every step of the way. Ainsworth there now for the Suns in the right forward pocket. Jeffrey jams it on the boot toward the goal line. Hickey's there and sees it through for a rush behind. First score of the second term goes to the Suns. It's a minor one. Narrows the gap to 35 points.
Tom Hickey was one that I was going to talk about earlier on. A really, really dominating game today. Can see him in All-Australian contention. He's had a wonderful season, but a good game today might just be the icing on the cake.
Lloyd brings the ball back in for the Swans, but it's slapped away from Heaney, and then the kick inside the 50 by the Suns has been turned over, and Lloyd kicks it to Hewitt, who is marked centre-half back. Short kick to Rampy, called to play on. He's stripped of it by Anderson and goes back in, Rampy, and dives on the footy and tackled again, and the umpire is called holding the ball.
And that's what you want to see. You want to see that from the Gold Coast Suns, and that comes from one of their younger players, and you just hope some other guys within the side actually get inspired by that.
So Noah Anderson, just a low ball inside forward 50. It's fisted away by the Swans defence. Going in there, Melican gives it to Cunningham. He throws it on the boot and sends it outside defensive 50. Goes over the head of Goulden. He'll be first to track it, but he runs over it. And going in there, Lukosius, he's dispossessed. It spills to Anderson. Play on, says the umpire. Atkins has a go. He can't take it with him. And the ball is in dispute close to the boundary line. Rao picks it up, handballs backwards to Miller. Under pressure with the kick, goes inside forward 50. Melican fisted away from King. It just now goes over the boundary line for a throw in, 20 metres around from the Suns' goal.
I've liked this start now by the Suns. They're actually going forward now rather than trying to retreat and go laterally. Every time they've got a bit of grass in front of them, they're taking it and driving it in their forward line.
Thoughts of Chris Johnson alongside Nathan Burke on Grandstand AFL. Ball tossed back in. Hickey and Smith both have a go. It's picked up by Miller. Throws it on the left boot toward goal. Tries to float it home, but it's just away to the right. The Suns have got a goal worth of behinds on the board. The Swans lead by 34 points. 3 minutes gone, second term.
So Dane Rampy just runs away from the defensive goal square. A long kick down to the outer side wing. It's offhand. Swallow at the back. Handballs to no one in particular. Tracking it first towards the boundary line is Hickey. Overruns it. Coming through is Lloyd. He kicks it down the line. Out the back, Goulden used his body well. Marks against Lukosius. Wheels around, kicks towards half forward over the head of Papley. It trickles inside defensive 50. Collins first to meet it for the Suns. He can't collect it. Now Buddy comes through. And his handball just goes to space, and Lemons picks it up for the Suns and just hacks it out of the danger zone. Trickles towards the boundary line. Hickey, though, picks it up for the Swans. Now McLean kicks inside the centre square and McInerney marks.
So McInerney swings it across to Cunningham, who collects on the half volley, quickly spins onto his right boot, sends it to Dawson, who stretches and marks. And Jordan Dawson's off. He's got a thumping left boot, and he just chisels one into the pocket. And Heaney is there to rise and take it in the right forward pocket. He was probably within his rights to go for home there, Jordan Dawson, the way he kicks the footy. He lays it off, and Isaac Heaney from 20 metres out, 45-degree angle right of centre, stands stationary, poised to go around on the left boot, and strikes the right-hand goalpost flush. It ricochets back into play about 30 metres out from goal. So no major score added there from Isaac Heaney, but the margin 35 the way of Sydney.
Dawson's real good vein of form coming into the finals. I think he's playing some good football the last month.
Jack Lukosius bombs it outside defensive 50. Hickey with the fist, though, smashes it over across the boundary line, and we'll have a ball in just short of wing position.
Surprising to see that they're still going out when they're kicking out to the right side for their kick-ins. It hasn't worked pretty much for the last quarter, that's for sure, and it hasn't worked again that quarter, attempt.
Swans by 35 as Gold Coast still searching for their first goal of the afternoon from the ball in, and there's a free kick to Sydney. Advantage paid. Mills kicks a scrubby one towards half forward. Hayward overruns it. Rowbottom picks up. Nice kick into space will favour Dawson, who can run onto it from 55 metres out. Short ball inside 50.
Oh.
And Papley marks, and appealing for 50 metres as Lemons crashes into him after he's completed the mark, but nothing doing, so Heaney will have a shot on goal from about 49 metres out, 45-degree angle.
Did they change the rule during the week, did they, Berkey? From 15 to 8 metres.
That was why the umpire didn't give him 50.
Yeah.
The umpire said, I'm not going to give you 50 because I probably shouldn't have given you the mark. If I had done both, well, then that would have been just too generous.
So Papley had a couple of goes at it already, and that one's a beautiful strike. He has his first for the afternoon, and the pain continues for Gold Coast as Sydney finds their 7th of the afternoon. 7-5-47 plays 6 behinds to Gold Coast. 6 minutes played, second quarter.
It's a thrill at the MCG, 8 minutes to go before half-time. Richmond 4-5-29, Hawthorn 4-4-28.
Swans just too good. This shot on goal all came from that kicking which I've spoken about. They went out to the right side. They then got the reset, which was a boundary throw-in, and then the Swans brought it away. And at the moment, the Swans as well are using the ball well in their back half, their forward half, and through the middle of the ground. But they're spread at the moment. It's just a little bit better than what the Gold Coast Suns can actually go with at the moment. They're left stagnant. They're left behind. The Swans spread from a ball in or a ball up is really superb at the minute.
Which makes it less sense of why you would just kick the ball to a pack where it's likely to end in a stoppage, and the Swans are winning them.
Ball back in the middle. Davies takes it away for the Suns. Handball to Miller, who flares it wide to Rory Atkins on the Logo City side. 50 metres. An encroachment on the mark.
Enough away. Goodness me.
Who was that paid against, Berkey? It wasn't Ollie Florent, was it?
No.
I was going to say, because he was miles away, so if it was him...
Isaac Heaney, guys.
It was
Isaac
ridiculous. He was nowhere near in the play. The play was going towards the boundary line. The Swans player ran past in the centre corridor. Just because he didn't have anyone near, and the umpire's going, oh, well, you're too close, you're in the way.
Righto, so Rory Atkins will get a crack at this from right on the 50. Across from Adelaide in the off-season after exercising his rights as a free agent. A hop, skip and a jump as he starts his approach for the first of the game for the Suns. It isn't to be for the Rat as he misses to the right-hand side. 7 binds. The Suns, they trail by 40. The Swans are 7-5. 8 minutes gone second term, and that might have been the footy gods smiling on the Swans.
Yeah, you're probably right there, Joel, but I don't understand why, and it sort of frustrates me in the modern day game, is that from a centre bounce, why players just don't go forward, because you know what's forward? It's a 6v6.
Yeah.
There's no spare man going forward, and at the moment I think the Gold Coast Suns just have got no confidence about going in their forward line.
No, it's more about, I'm just going to maintain possession.
Yep.
If I give it to somebody else, doesn't matter where they are on the field, then I've done my job.
So Swans from the kick-in have managed to kick it towards left half forward, but they've turned it over. Miller gets around one, handballs to Lukosius just inside the boundary line. It's a rush kick down the line, and the umpire's pulled out a free kick going the Suns' way. And looks like it's going to Sexton.
It's very easy to get a free kick at a marking contest these days. Might take my players to acting class over the summer. Just learn how to throw your arms in the air and spin your body around, and you'll get 10 a game.
So Sexton, defensive side of the wing, kicks down the line, pack forms, spills over the back. King handballs to Rowell. Short kick to Miller, not 15, so he just sends it inside 50, and Corbett has 1 or 2 goes out of arms, so chopped, he's got a free kick.
Pretty sure the Sydney player actually tried to mark the ball.
So it's Rowbottom who's pleading his case to the umpire, but Corbett wins himself a free kick. He'll kick this from about 30 metres out directly in front.
Normally chopping the arms has to be a spoiling motion. But if you put your arms up to mark the ball as well, and the player comes in the other direction and the 2 arms clash, it's not really chopping the arms. We've got to get the Suns a goal somehow. So
Gold Coast for their first goal of the afternoon, and Corbett sneaks it home. They're on the board, the Gold Coast. Sydney 7-5-47, Gold Coast 1 goal 7-13, and we've played 10 minutes in the second term.
Well, they've just got to try and keep peppering the ball inside their forward 50. I know what you're trying to say before, Berkey, where they're trying to maintain possession and they've done their job. It's just a bit of a survival, but it's the last game of the year, guys. It's the last game of the year. Give your forward some hope. Get it in there as quick as you can, especially when there's a one-on-one scenario. And that there, I know it's probably a touch-and-go free kick, but it was a one-on-one scenario. And look what happens. You actually give it to your one of your key forwards, which is your second key forward, and he gives a contest and he draws a free kick, and that's what you want. Guess what? A couple of things are going to go your way if you keep having belief in your forward line.
Yeah, you might leak a few back the other way, but at least you're going to set up the opportunity to score a few as well. Back in the middle, Smith and Hickey renew acquaintances in ruck. Hewitt chases it down for the Swans. Got it out to Lloyd, who kicked looking for Parker. Skittled him. Atkins there to swoop on it for the Suns. Handball forward to Anderson. Drives it inside the 50. Up high, Malikan. Doing the roving was King, and he just sneaks it in on the right boot. It took them the best part of 40 minutes to get one, the Suns. Now they've got 2 in 1 minute. Ben King rolls in his first goal in a month of footy, and the Suns have got their second, 2-7-19. The Swans 7-5-47 through 11 minutes of the second term.
Well, I think the Sydney Swans player can be entitled to ask, hang on, what about the chopping of my arms in the forward line? Oh, it actually was a clip across the back of the head, but well done by Ben King. He's hasn't been kicking a lot of goals, but the work rate has been there, and even today the work rate up and down the ground has been really good. As we know, with the King brothers, both of them are very good around their ankles as well as in the air.
And the good thing there, they had 2 key forwards at home there, Berkey, where in the first quarter they had no one at home. So Noah Anderson felt confident going forward.
So we're back in the middle. Anderson dives on it, but he's going absolutely nowhere as Hewitt dives on him and forces a stoppage. We've inched a couple of metres closer to the Sydney Swans goal. They lead this contest by 28 points. We played 12 minutes in the second term as Parker collects it, drew it into the turf by Took Miller, and we will have a secondary stoppage, this time inched about 10 metres closer to Sydney's goal.
A couple of hard nuts going at it there. I think Parker and up they go. This time Burgess in ruck for the Suns. Kick forward smothered. Miller, half back for the Suns. Just pirouettes around. Handball's back to Anderson, who kicks up the line. Couldn't find a teammate on the end of it. Florent comes up with it for the Swans. Handball to O'Riordan. Sends it to right half forward. Finds Hayward. Mark 60 from home. Looks immediately infield in the direction of Franklin. Got hands to it over the back of Collins. Couldn't reel it in. Mills there at ground level. Handball to Buddy. Tries to fend a couple off. Got the handball free to Campbell. Campbell 30 out from the Swans goal. He's tackled by 3 Suns. And a ball up 30 metres out from the Sydney goal at the Coventry end. The Suns have kicked back-to-back majors. The margin 28 points at the 13-minute mark of the second.
So Franklin against Burgess. Franklin takes it out of the ruck and he's stripped of it. Anderson goes in and Buddy Franklin smashes into him. And it's a free kick going to Sydney, I think, for holding the ball.
I want to see this one again here. I'll leave you to talk about it.
And 50. And 50 for not giving the ball back to Franklin. A bit of anger in that throwing of the ball at Miss Buddy, and he's been marched to the goal line.
Well, we're waiting for a replay on this one at the MCG. The Hawks have jumped out to a 13-point lead. 3.5 minutes to go before half-time.
Yeah, look, won't be happy at all about this. The Suns just gifting. They've kicked 2 goals themselves this quarter, and now Buddy to go back and kick his 3rd.
Yep, Buddy Franklin, 988 goals of his career, and make it 989. They don't come much easier than that as he just pops it through from the goal square, and Sydney Swans extend their lead. 8-5-53 plays 2-7-19, nearly 15 minutes played in the second term.
Well, they've been pretty good for the first little bit here, the Suns, but that there is just he's come in, he's tackled. It's probably unfair on Noah Anderson, a bit rough on him, and then he's gotten up and given the umpire a mouthful at the same time, and then hasn't given the ball back correctly, I don't think. Just threw it really, really hard at Buddy, and that's uncharacteristic there for Noah Anderson.
Oh, sorry, umpire, but that is a disgraceful free kick. And it wasn't even Buddy's free kick because Heaney was the one tackling Anderson before he actually got the ball. So, terrible umpire.
Oh, and Buddy's actually ducked to miss the ball as well. So,
I think Noah Anderson can feel rightly aggrieved on 2 fronts there.
Disgraceful umpiring.
He's back in the middle here, and guess who's standing the mark as the Suns give away a free kick? One N. Anderson. Not a good couple of minutes as Parker drives it inside the 50. Buddy's up in the pack. It's off hands. Good tackle to Zach Smith at ground level.
Ducked his head and went into the tackle, didn't he, Berkey?
Ducked your head, drive forward into the tackler. That's the same umpire. I'm not going to name him.
Go on, I
don't know their names because I deliberately don't want to know their names.
Buddy might have given Noah Anderson one across the shoulder there. Good mark from Parker, tracking the ball in flight. He's marked inside the centre square, about 70 from home for the Swans.
And just loads up and sends it in the pocket in the Heaney direction. In good contest by Farah, but Heaney collects a ground level. It gives it to Wicks. Right foot snap on goal, and the Swans have another. They're absolutely dominating here at Docklands Stadium as they move to 9-5-59, Gold Coast 2-7-19, 16 minutes played the second term, and the margin back out to 40 points.
Well, just looking at that contest when it went to Heaney, I looked in the middle of the ground, in the sort of about 30 metres out, and there were 3 midfielders of the Gold Coast Suns just protecting a bit of space, which you're meant to do. I think one of those guys need to go off that and actually become a third man up in terms of that long ball that comes in, and they didn't. And what Swans do so good, they're very good in the phone box situation when they're in close. They use it well, but Wicks there only off one step was able to measure it quite easily to put that through for their 9th goal.
And Isaac Heaney just all class with the gather on the ground, and the lightning handball out to Wicks was something to behold.
So the Swans answer with back-to-back goals of their own after the Suns kicked 2 in a row. Back in the middle, ball eludes Anderson. Parker's there. Davies for the Suns on debut. Just throws it out to Noah Anderson, who tried to get a boot at it. Tackled by Parker. Still in the centre square at Mills around. Mills has a go. And then he picks it up again and goes up and down the mine shaft to the front edge of the centre square. Heaney can't take it. Atkins did for the Suns. Blast them back the other way. A bouncing ball through centre half forward. Corbett getting across. Rampy first there for the Swans. Lovely gather. Handball to Dawson. Runs the 1-2. Almost run down by Jeffrey. He just sneak out of his grip, but he's turned it over. Rampy's kick straight down the throat of Farah. Farah goes inside 50 for the Suns. King stretches and marks high above his head. 40 metres out, 45-degree angle right of centre.
Well, that's a good 30-metre lead. He was deep in the goal square, King, and he actually seen the play unfold in front of him and reacted really quickly. And once he knew that the Suns were going to win it, he actually came that fast out of the goal square. The kick was a little bit up, so he had to prop, but that was just a good set of hands.
So Ben King with one already, having not kicked one in his 3 previous games, sends it on its way from 40 metres out and steers it home. And the Suns do answer the back-to-back goals from Sydney with one of their own. 3 in the term now for Gold Coast. They've kicked 3 goals, 3 here in this second quarter. They're 3-7-25. Sydney 9-5-59. The margin 34 points through 18 minutes of the second term. Your experts on Grandstand AFL are Chris Johnson and Nathan Burke.
A couple of things I like there. I like Farah coming off that half-back line. He's a dasher. He takes off, he takes ground whenever he gets it and runs and carries. And really good that hopefully Ben King can finish off with a really good day, because it's been an outstanding season. What's he up to, 45 goals now, Joel?
Yep.
45 goals, that's a great season. He hasn't had the last 3 weeks. So if he has a down one today, it's probably not a great lead into the pre-season. So he deserves to finish on a high.
Probably shows you how good the early part of the season was for him, when he's kicked 43 goals through 18 weeks of the season. He kicked 5 against Sydney earlier in the year too, so he doesn't mind it against the Swans.
So from the middle, Rao just collects and runs away with it and kicks Gold Coast inside 50. O'Riordan was interfered with by Jeffrey, and he will take the free kick just inside defensive 50 for the Swans. So O'Riordan is called to play on. Elects to kick down the City side, winning. Hickey at front spot on the second attempt. Gathers, handballs to Hewitt, then back to Hickey. His handball partially smothered, and Ballard picks it up for the Suns. Handballs backwards to Swallow, who kicks a high up and under towards centre half forward. The umpires pulled out a free kick going to Jake Lloyd of the Swans at centre half back.
So the Horsham Demons product has it on the back arc. Chips short to Mills. Mills goes straight up the pipe inside the 50. That is an outstanding kick. Gee, Lemons did really well to get a hand in on Papley. It spilt to Campbell, who lined it up on his left and just missed. But that was absolutely lightning from Sydney. And Callum Mills almost dropped it right on the money for Papley to mark. Margin 35 points the way of Sydney as we're in time on in the second term.
So Powell, short kick to the right back pocket to Swallow, who kicks back to the defensive goal square, and Lukosius marks this time. Sends it out wide to Miller, who's marked at left half back. Handballs over the top to Atkins. He's got Farah all alone on the wing position. He gathers, has a bounce. Handballs to Fiorini, who goes back to Anderson, then to Atkins by hand. Now the kick inside 50 in the Jeffrey direction. He gathers on the bounce and handballs backwards to Corbett. His kick towards the top of the square is dropped by Burgess, and Lloyd mops up for the Swans. Kicks out to the left back pocket where Goulden marks.
I would have liked to have seen Corbett go back and take that one with 2 hands rather than actually just half go back and take it with 1.
And the forward entry a little bit earlier from Rory Atkins as well. Like, you played over 100 games of league football. That's got to be better.
Goulden to Lloyd on the half volley for Hewitt, slips the tackle. Now the Swans work it to Mills at half back. He gets through a tackle as well to Wicks, to Goulden, who's run down by Powell. Great tackling pressure. The Suns lock it up in their attacking half. We'll have a ball up between the wing and half forward. There's a little bit of push and shove over there. Wicks and Goulden and Powell all involved.
It's good we didn't see this pressure from the Suns in the first quarter. At least they've lifted that rating considerably.
Started to link up through hand as well and run the footy forward. Powell, handball to Anderson, tumbles it to the edge of the 50, slip past Jeffrey. and goes out at the junction of the 50 and the boundary, where it'll be thrown back into play. The Suns 3 goals 7.25, trail the Swans 9.660, 22 minutes gone, second term, Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio and ABC News Radio.
Well, both Anderson and Miller at the moment are getting their hands on the football. They've both had about 21 possessions between them this quarter.
So from the throw-in, Goulden was taken high by Miller, and he has a free kick at left half back. So called to play on now is Goulden from defensive 50. Long kick down the wing at the back. McLean rises, can't complete the mark. It's off hands, and we'll have a boundary throw in. True centre wing position, City side.
Half time at the MCG. It is Richmond 4-6-30, trailing Hawthorn 6-6-42. Doing it for Clarko.
They are indeed. They're chasing their 4th win in a row as well, the Hawks, to end the season.
Well, has ever been a coach sacked after 4 wins in a row?
That is a real question. I wonder. That would be one for the archivists. Ball up at right half forward for the Suns. McPherson jams it on the boot. Rowell stands under it, couldn't take the mark. Parker flicks it through the traffic to Rowbottom. To Malikan inside the defensive 50. Guides the kick to Lloyd, who sprints onto it, distributes wide. Florent pulls it in. Nice mark, riding the bump from Atkins, able to track the footy over his shoulder and take the mark. Handball to the run of Jake Lloyd, through the AFL logo, dockside. Handball back onto Florent, has to step through, found himself in trouble, worked himself out of it, gets to 52, kicks to the pocket looking for Goulden. Powell in the right spot at the right time, and takes the intercept mark in the back pocket for the Suns. Looks short for Swallow, but kicked further than that and finds Harbrow inside the defensive arc.
Harbrow kicks very wide, finds Farrow just inside the boundary line, kicks short to Anderson, between wing and half forward, short to McPherson. Just short of the wing for the Suns is McPherson. Elects to kick short again. Anderson marks on the AFL logo, kicks inside the centre square, Rowell's in a bit of space, he's 70 from home.
Go long.
Rowell does exactly that, he goes into the pocket, it's over the head of Corbett. Cunningham picks it up for the Swans. He's tackled immediately, forces a stoppage, and we'll have a ball up in the right forward pocket for Gold Coast.
Yeah, I see what you mean, Berkey, there. It was King long, but I'm not too sure whether Rowell's got that in him, those type of kicks of going long that far, but it looks better. That whole build-up from half-back or from the full back line for the Suns looked a lot better than what it has throughout the whole game.
Mills on the last line for the Swans at the stoppage, shares it with Hickey, Parker, Malikan. Now driving it out of there is Rowbottom. Goulden fists it on. It's taken by Ballard of the Suns. Handball defensively to Miller. Miller a defensive hand pass to Swallow. It's worked back to the wing and they might be in some trouble here, the Suns. Harbrow crashed into Papley, got taken high. Papley was rushing in toward the footy. Harbrow put his head over it. His head collided with the knee of Tom Papley. And so the retiring Jared Harbrow takes the free kick for the Suns at half-back, sends it wide to Lemons, and now on to Miller on the City side.
He kicks short to Ballard, who marks just inside the boundary line. True centre wing position, City side. And it's a crowded area ahead of him. He goes to a pack. King got a bit of separation on his opponent, went through his hands. Hickey picks up, handballs to Rowbottom, and gives it to Goulden, and now handballs to Lloyd, who is partially tackled, but good enough to get the handball away to Parker, who finds McInerney in space at centre half-back. Kicks to Jordan. Dawson again has space inside the centre square, and he's got a player running for him at half-forward in Hayward, who can turn around. He's got Buddy Long. He decides to kick short instead to Cunningham, who's dropped it, has time to gather backwards to Hayward from 50 metres. Kick partially smothered as it goes inside 50. Harbrow collects for the Suns, kicks out to the wing. Corbett, he can't mark as O'Riordan fists it away from him. Goes in again, good second effort. Handballs to Fiorini though. He's under pressure to Anderson, to Farah, to Harbrow, all by hand in a phone box at left half back. Harbrow as he kicks up and under, long down the wing. It's off hand. Sexton's out the back and he kicks to space, and Ainsworth is in a foot race with Jake Lloyd at half forward. Is Lloyd, he has a man to help him though in Hewitt as he tapped it in his direction, and he kicks short to Hickey, who's marked at right half-back.
Did well then, Lloyd. Just posted him up and was able to knock it on. That was frenetic stuff. Going end to end. Swans by 35 points, 27 gone, third term. Fiorini has it for the Suns on the wing. Chips forward to Ainsworth, a former first-round pick out of Morwell, Gippsland. Low kick inside the forward 50. Lovely delivery. Corbett's up to pull it in. 40 metres out, 45-degree angle left of centre.
They've lifted here, the Suns. They're actually lifted in terms of their intensity, and they're working for each other, where we probably didn't see this in the first quarter. And we know what the Swans are like. They want to come out of the gates really, really fast. But all credit to them at the moment. I know they're probably just winning the quarter by a few points, but you can just see the intensity it has lifted for them.
3 goals 3 to 3 goals 2, so a point ahead to this stage. The Suns make it 2. Corbett's set shot never looked like it.
2 was it, Joel?
Tugged it left, so they're 2 points ahead on the scoreboard here in this second term. The Suns, they've kicked 3 goals 4. The Swans have kicked 3 goals 2. The margin's 34 points through 28 minutes on Grandstand AFL.
And the marks inside 50 are 2 each this quarter, so they've managed to slow that down from the Swans.
Lloyd kicks to McInerney at right half back. Short kick to Dawson. He spills it, has time to regather, and then kicks inboard to McCartan, who's marked on defensive 50.
A little bit of a lazy mark there by the Swans. I reckon John Longmire, that's the thing that he'll be looking for. He'll be looking for any sign of a player taking the easy option, and he'll be all over them.
Martin kicks towards the dockside wing. There's a 50-50 ball as Davies goes in for the Suns. Handballs to Powell, handballs to Farah. He's almost legged by Parker, is he? No, he's holding the ball.
Can't tackle there. Open the window.
It's open. Go, Berkey, go.
Oh, unlucky. That is unlucky by Farah. Parker must have grabbed him at his knees at best, but
the umpire guessed he was a little bit blindsided, but he's gone, I've seen him tackle, he's fallen over, free kick.
So Parker short to Goulden, who loads up and sends a long kick inside forward 50. It's off hands. Hewitt collects. He's tracked by Miller. It spills to Rampy, kicks into the pocket. And Collins gets front spot over Buddy Franklin. Harbrow picks up, handballs backwards to Ballard, who is absolutely driven into the turf. And he will get up feeling a little bit sore, I think. And there's a stoppage 10 metres out from goal.
So up they go. Hickey laid the tackle, does the ruck work, got it off to Heaney, who tries to throw it on the boot. As he did so, it spilled out of his grasp and goes across the behind line for a rushed score for the Swans. So the margin 35 points the way of Sydney, 9-7-61. The Suns 3-8-26, nearly 30 minutes gone here in this second term.
So Harbrow kicks to Ballard in the left back pocket. And then just kicks a long one outside defensive 50. Collins, good body work over Hickey, drops the mark but regathers, handballs backwards to Miller, who kicks towards the wing. Corbett in a one-on-one against Melican, wins himself a free kick. And umpires called advantage. Ainsworth, his kick smothered by Lloyd. It spills to Davies, and that is the halftime siren here at Docklands Stadium. The Suns finally on the board in that second term. They kicked 3 goals of their own, but so did Sydney Swans, and they managed to keep a 35-point buffer, which is 9-7-61, plays 3-8-26. Your goal kickers, Franklin has 3, and singles to Heaney, Papley, Mills, Goulden, Dawson, and Wicks. And for the Suns, Ben King kicked 2 in that quarter and 1 to Josh Corbett.
So 35 points the way of Sydney at halftime, 9-7-61 to the Suns 3-8-26 at halftime at the MCG across town. It's Hawthorn 6-6-42 to Richmond 4-6-30. Later today, the Lions and the Eagles. The Eagles need to win to keep any hopes of September football alive. The Lions, of course, trying to stay ahead of the Swans. A loss and a Sydney win, and they'll slip back to 6th spot, and the Swans can move up to 5th. And then, of course, top of the table tonight. First on the ladder will be decided between Geelong and Melbourne down at the Cattery this evening. The other game, GWS and Carlton in round 23 of the AFL's home and away season. 35-point lead to the Sydney Swans here at halftime as both teams leave the arena. The thoughts of our Grandstand AFL experts Nathan Burke and Chris Johnson to sum up the first half.
Well, Joe, I think Stuart Dew would have implored them to do a couple of things. One, just put some pressure on the Swans. Actually, just play some defence across the ground, and they did that. Two was to be smarter going inside 50 and actually have plays inside 50 to kick the ball to, and just make it more of a contest. Just be braver in the contest, be better in the contest, and they did that and they won the quarter. So all credit to the Gold Coast Suns for actually winning the quarter. I think with the Sydney Swans, what you saw a little bit, and probably what John Longmire, even though they are significantly in front going into half time, he'll be saying things like, a couple of times I saw a few of you pull out and want to receive the ball rather than going in and getting it. There's been a little bit too much of that, and that's certainly not the pattern you want to see creep in before you play finals next week. So he'll be imploring his men not to be selfish, not to receive the ball, to get in and do the hard stuff, and understand that all of their attacking play starts from their defensive play, and that's where they need to focus. They do that defensive stuff right, then they'll score heavily at the other end. So at least well done by Gold Coast Suns for coming out and playing some better football in that quarter.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, Berkey. The thing I really liked about the Suns was that they actually took some grass and they actually were confident in going forward to their forward line at various times. And there was a couple of times that King was on, and the kicker, I guess, who had all the ball carrier that had the ball in his hand, just wasn't able to probably pull off that kick as good as what he possibly could. But certainly some positive signs there. I think one thing they need to work out is certainly their kick-in structure at the moment. The Suns, you've been speaking about it in the first quarter, Berkey, and it sort of didn't work for them in the second quarter either. They got scored a couple of times from their kicking, so they need to have an option B and an option C within that, not always just go. And because once you just telegraph that to the opposition, they know where to go, they know where to set up.
It's predictable to your team, but it's also very predictable to the opposition.
Exactly. So you've got to be predictable on a couple of different plans, and you at least from having experience kicking in, we had about 5 to 6 different plans of coming kicking in, but I just stuck to the one plan because it worked all the time. Kick it to Darryl White and let him do what he needs to do and mark the ball. And but unfortunately, the Gold Coast haven't got that ilk of player that's sitting out a bit further from goal. So I think the Swans are certainly some bad habits have crept in there, Berkey, as you said. That John Longmire wouldn't be happy, but they're well on top of this game, and they just need to keep putting in that professional performance as they have done already.
Probably about 21 blokes in those Brisbane teams you could have kicked it to and let them do a bit of work, I reckon.
There was a couple there. I didn't feel confident probably kicking to a Sean Hart out there. He was a bit small.
So the Swans by 35 points at half-time, 9-7-61 to the Suns, 3-8-26.
At least you got to kick in, Jono.
Yes.
The rules in my team was I wasn't allowed to kick in, and they weren't allowed to kick it to me. So once it went through for a point, I just sort of watched for a couple of minutes.
At least you knew who to kick it to most of the time.
Yeah, not me.
Yes. I recall a shock I had against you guys one day up at the Gabba. It was terrible. I think you guys probably kicked the first 5 behinds, and I reckon I tried to go up the corridor 5 times from those behind. They just kept going bang over my head, and I think you may have had a shot, and I reckon Harves was in there as well, and Charlesy there at various times as well. But yeah, it's a daunting task sitting back there. But now what they can do, Bergie, is they can rack up the stats now and just play on.
Well, the thing is, we brought the mark back 15 metres, and I'm not positive why, because it actually decreases scoring. So it's less, with everyone outside 50, it's less likely you can go from one end to the other and score. And because they kick the ball nearly to the wing, it's less likely you can get a turnover and get the ball back inside 50. So I'm not sure what that rule is designed to do. If it's designed to increase scoring, it actually decreases scoring.
There's only a couple of players who really seem to be able to use it well. I think of Shannon Hearn, who is probably one of the best kick-out specialists we've ever had in the competition, who uses it pretty well, but for the most part it hasn't quite delivered. I think Jake Lloyd likes it because on his return to the team, and the Suns having kicked 8 behinds to half-time, Jake Lloyd leads all disposal winners with 22. So he's getting some fairly comfortable ones. I think there's a ridiculous stat, and I'll look it up at half-time, that Jake Lloyd, there's a couple out here today. So Took Miller's going for his 16th consecutive game of 30-plus disposals, which is pretty ridiculous.
On track there.
And Jake Lloyd's had something like 50 consecutive games of at least 20 disposals as well. And a lot of that would be because he kicks the footy in, but he's been very busy in that opening half.
We need another column in the stats. So you got kicks, marks, handballs, kick-ins.
Yes.
That's just another column. I'm sure we can do it.
I'm sure we can. There's enough columns in some of those stats sheets that could certainly work.
We take metres gained and hit-outs and other useless stats. So why not that one?
Yeah, you're spot on, Berkey, because it does play a big part in the game now, doesn't it?
35 consecutive games of 20-plus for Jake Lloyd up until a couple of weeks ago. Of course, he missed last week through injury, but he's back out there today and doing good things, as are the Sydney Swans, who lead by 35 points at half-time here at Docklands. 9-7-61, but he's got 3. He had 1 in the first 20 seconds of the match. He's looking very dangerous indeed. And the Suns, a better second term from them to win it on the scoreboard, 3-8-26. Across town, they're about to get underway at the MCG. Berkey?
Yeah, it's a close one there. Hawks have got their nose in front, 6-6-42 to Richmond 4-6-30.
We'll keep you across that as the day unfolds here as well on Grandstand AFL. But with the Swans up by 35 points at half-time, we'll take a break and we'll get you to the latest from ABC News.
ABC News with David Rowlands. Protesters have gathered to rally against lockdowns in Sydney, despite thousands of police flooding the streets and creating a ring of steel around the CBD. People have been arrested by officers around Victoria Park in Glebe, with up to 1,500 police deployed in Sydney alone to try and stop a repeat of the violent scenes during a protest last month. There appeared to be some violent clashes again as arrests were made. However, there were not the thousands who attended last month's event. Meantime, the New South Wales Premier Gladys Berejiklian has called for calm after the state recorded 825 new cases of COVID-19 today. Alison Shaw has the details.
3 more people have died from COVID-19, bringing the total number of deaths during the Delta outbreak in New South Wales to 68. A woman in her 90s linked to an outbreak at Liverpool Hospital has died, and 2 men from Greenwood Aged Care Facility in Normanhurst have passed away. Health Minister Brad Hazzard has laid the blame of rising case numbers on non-compliance after 16 people tested positive following an illegal party at Maroubra. Authorities say they were shocked to learn a majority of the attendees had come from one of the 12 local government areas of concern.
An anti-lockdown rally in Melbourne CBD has turned violent as hundreds of police officers have been outnumbered by protesters. Dana Morse reports.
There are thousands of people who have marched on Elizabeth Street in Melbourne CBD protesting this lockdown, and 700 police officers were deployed to the area to try and bring this protest under control. We've seen that it has actually turned quite nasty between police and protesters. There have been several physical clashes between the protesters and police. Most of the protesters are not wearing masks, and that they are also setting off flares. Police haven't as yet been able to contain the protesters. We have seen the use of pepper spray on the protesters so far, but when this is going to end, we don't know.
Regional Victoria has now joined Greater Melbourne in the COVID-19 lockdown. However, regional areas will be exempt from the curfew. In further restrictions announced today, all childcare centres in Victoria will close except for children whose parents are authorised workers and can't be supervised at home. There will also be changes to industries, including construction, large distribution centres and abattoirs. It comes after the state recorded 61 new local cases of COVID-19, as well as an additional 16 infections, which will be included in tomorrow's numbers. Health authorities are particularly concerned about the growing cluster in Shepparton in northern Victoria. Premier Daniel Andrews says people's movements need to be limited to stop the spread of the virus.
These decisions are never made lightly. They are on advice. They are about stopping this getting fundamentally away from us, and then there is no pulling it back. A situation much like what's occurring in New South Wales, sadly for them, and indeed for all of us, because their problems are essentially our problems.
Thousands of people have also gathered in Brisbane CBD today to protest lockdowns and vaccination passports. Young families were seen amongst the demonstrators at the Brisbane Botanic Gardens. However, no arrests have been made. ACT health authorities are working on plans to start vaccinating children and young people by the end of the school year. People aged 30 to 59 years old are currently eligible to receive the Pfizer vaccine in the ACT, while people aged 16 to 29 will soon be able to register. ACT Chief Minister Andrew Barr says the rollout plan will depend on vaccine supply availability.
But we're doing the planning. We want to be in a position to vaccinate as many 12 to 15-year-olds as possible before the end of the school year.
The ACT has recorded 8 new cases of COVID-19 overnight, taking the total number of active cases in the territory to 102. All of the new cases are linked and none were infectious in the community. Australia has evacuated another 80 people, including Australian and New Zealand citizens, visa holders and locally engaged Afghan staff from Kabul Airport. Many Australians have been struggling to get access to Hamid Karzai Airport amid chaotic scenes of Taliban guards blocking terminal gates and firing guns. Government frontbencher Stuart Roberts says more than 240 people have now been evacuated from Kabul on 3 separate rescue flights. He's urging anyone left behind to remain in contact with the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade.
To those who are still in Afghanistan, the message remains constant. Keep in touch with DFAT. Make sure your details are recorded with the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and DFAT will coordinate with you whatever the next steps are.
ABC News.
G'day, I'm Jan Fran.
Absolutely not true.
And we have a quiz show.
Kinda.
That will put an end to fake news.
Slight overreach.
Catch the new show about getting your facts straight.
It showcases the best new comedians.
Yeah, that bit's true.
And it gives you the tools to tackle misinformation.
Question everything.
People call me misinformation.
Really?
Drop in for a new show with Will Anderson and Jan Fran. Wednesday nights on ABC TV and stream it on ABC iView.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Dawson, who could run onto it from 55 metres out, short ball inside 50. And Papley marks. So Papley had a couple of goes at it already, and that one's a beautiful strike. He has his first for the afternoon, and the pain continues for Gold Coast. Short kick to Miller, not 15, so he just sends it inside 50, and Corbett has 1 or 2 goes at it. Arms are chopped, he's got a free kick. So Gold Coast for their first goal of the afternoon, and Corbett sneaks it home. They're on the board, the Gold Coast.
Tamble forward to Anderson, drives it inside the 50, up by Malikan. Doing the roving was King, and he just sneaks it in on the right boot.
In the pocket, in the Heaney direction. And good contest by Farah, but Heaney collects a grand level. It gives it to Wicks. Right foot snap on goal, and the Swans have another.
Rampy's kick straight down the throat of Farah. Farah goes inside 50 for the Suns. King stretches and marks high above his head. Sends it on its way from 40 metres out and steers it home.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Sydney by 35 at the half. They look like they might have blown the Suns away early. They led by 36 at quarter time. They kicked the first 7 goals of the game, the Swans. The Suns steadied. They kicked the next 2 and 3 to close. So 3-8-26 the Suns, 9-7-61 Sydney. About 5 minutes from the resumption here at Docklands on Grandstand AFL. Great to have your company on ABC Radio and ABC News Radio. Joel Peterson and Jess Webster calling the action for you. Chris Johnson and Nathan Burke are your experts. A big day of footy ahead as we go through round 23 at the MCG. It's Hawthorn by 18 points over Richmond. So we'll take you through where you can get the games across the course of the rest of the weekend. Of course, if it's not on local radio in your part of the world, jump on the AFL app, head to the Listen Live button, and then click on the ABC worm to find an ABC call of any of the games. Later this afternoon, Brisbane and West Coast across most of the network. So that's a big game with finals ramifications up at the Gabba this afternoon. If you don't get that game straight away and you're with other games, you will be headed there for the later stages of it. Tonight, Geelong and Melbourne at Kardinia Park for most of the network. For our listeners on New South Wales and ACT News Radio, you'll be getting the Giants and Carlton at Docklands. Tomorrow, the early game, St Kilda and Fremantle down in Hobart for most of the network. Into Essendon, Collingwood at the MCG. Into Adelaide and North Melbourne at the Adelaide Oval to close things out in the home and away season. And then we roll on into finals the week after that. And Who knows where we'll be and when we'll be there, but you can guarantee that you'll hear all the finals action on Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio, ABC News Radio, Sport Digital, via the AFL app as well. The best place to get all the action throughout season 2021. This afternoon in the NRL, of course, the Melbourne Storm attracting attention in our part of the world for their exploits earlier in the week, but the NRL season nearing the pointy end as well. The game in progress at the moment is 6 minutes old. The West Tigers 4 lead the Sharks, who are yet to score. Later today, the Bulldogs take on the Knights on the Gold Coast, and then in the second leg of the doubleheader at Robina, it's the Parramatta Eels taking on the Cowboys. The Eels 6th and right in the fight for finals. The Swans and the Suns out on the ground to start the second half here at Docklands. Sydney 9-7-61 to the Suns 3-8-26. Chris Johnson and Nathan Burke are our experts. We saw a much improved Gold Coast in that second term. Burkey, how does Stuart Dew harness what they were able to deliver in terms of a little bit more attacking intent and translate it into this second half?
More of the same. That's it. They've got two quarters. 2 quarters to go before they can get on a plane tonight, put their feet up, and away they go. So you just got to implore them to leave nothing behind. Everything has to be left here at Marvel Stadium in this second half. And you can even, they're not that far behind where you can even say, oh, let's outscore them by 3 this quarter. We're 3 goals down going into the last. They're going to be eyeing off the finals the week after. This can be a famous victory for us. This can be a victory that sets us up for our pre-season, knocking off a team that could finish 5th on the ladder. So everything is there to play for. If they drift out of this game and they let Sydney, who have got an eye on the finals, run over them in the second half, that's going to tell me a lot about the psyche of this group. But if they can try and salvage something from this season where they've had 7 wins, that's going to tell me even more about this group. So it's a fascinating second half. Just very quickly, Callum Mills has been doing some running backwards and forwards, trying to warm up that looks like a calf Achilles area. The way that he's running on his toes, and generally that sort of shows that you're trying to save that lower leg injury. He's jumping on the bike. He hasn't put the cue in the rack yet, but would not be surprised if he does at some stage.
Well, he kicked the goal in the opening term and then came off. They've been managing Achilles tendonitis with him over the last couple of weeks.
Yep. Just by the look on his face, he just doesn't look happy.
So that's clearly an ongoing battle for Sydney and Callum Mills. He's been pretty important and such an important player for them. He's in conversation at the moment with the physio, Jono.
They've got to make a call on it. They've got a bigger prize at stake here, and if it is hurting him, they've got to make a call on it really, really quickly, because there's no bye next week to come into the finals. There's no bye, so he can't recover. So they need him deep into the finals for them to play finals and get through to that last day in September. They need a fit and informed Callum Mills.
He's got something, definitely. He's walking up and down the Banjo now. He's testing it out, but he doesn't look happy. Just get him off, put him in ice.
So that is a bit of a worry for Sydney, of course, with a bit of a question mark over Josh Kennedy and his status going forward as well for the Swans. Not too many question marks on the field this afternoon, though. They lead by 35 points as we get stuck into the second half. On Grandstand AFL, here's Jess Webster.
So Hickey takes it out of the middle and sends a long one towards half forward. Franklin in a one-on-one against Collins and takes the mark. And just like the first quarter, Buddy Franklin will have a shot on goal in the opening seconds.
What did Split Ends say? History never repeats.
So Buddy Franklin will have to kick this all of 50 metres. But knowing what we've seen over many years, I don't think the distance will trouble him, and he's basically just in front too.
This is slow compared to his first goal because he's gone past 20 seconds into the quarter.
See how quick the umpire calls play on here when he deviates.
So Buddy Franklin for his 4th goal this afternoon from right on 50 metres. Let's go, and sneaks it home. Buddy's got 4. The Sydney Swans have 10. They move to 10-7-67. Gold Coast 3-8-26. Less than a minute played in the third term.
Well, he rode it home, Berkey.
He did. He did. It went. He kicked it from just outside 50 and it went 4 rows back. So he absolutely nailed it. But you can't let Buddy, if it's a kick coming out of the middle and you can't let Buddy wrestle one-on-one with his opponent. Another defender has to come over and smash that ball. That's where the Gold Coast Suns defence, they don't help each other very well. They do everything individually, and that's the next level of them as a back six, being able to work together and help each other.
So Buddy starts the second half where he started the first. A goal in the early stages. Sydney back out to a 41-point lead. Hickey and Smith clatter into each other in the middle. Rowell fights for the footy for the Suns. Gets a hand to it. Flicks it out the side door to Miller. Miller jams it on the boot inside the 50. Burgess nudged under the footy by Malikan, legally according to the umpire.
Fine there, Joel, just nudged. That was a massive nudge.
Been a couple of them inside the defensive 50 for the Swans today that have been pretty lucky not to be paid. McInerney's got it on the wing outer side here for the Swans. Loops the handball over the top to Heaney. Heaney blasts Sydney inside the 50. Collins gets across and marks in front of McLean in the left back pocket for Gold Coast.
Short kick. Finds Lukosius. And he's hemmed up against the boundary line in the left back pocket. Called to play on now. He gets around Buddy on the mark. Long kick towards the outer wing. Burgess in a one-on-one against McInerney, and it's off hands and over the boundary line for a throw-in. Wing position, City side.
One player that hasn't had a fantastic day for the Suns, haven't seen a lot of him, is Alex Sexton. He's normally a goal kicker and bobs up and kicks a handful at various times, but today he's probably playing a little bit more high than stay at home forward.
So the Suns emerge from the boundary throw-in as Swallow kicks the Suns towards centre-half forward. Rampy, though, marks a one-on-one against Jeffrey.
Swings it wide. Dawson collects on the bounce, shoots the kick forward. Levens gave Papley a shove, put him to ground. Miller's in there. Handball inside to Atkins, got the arms free, handball to Lemons. Back out to the boundary line for the All-Man Sexton Jono, who's kicked it out of bounds on the full. That was his 5th disposal of the game, so he has been quiet.
He's normally a barometer for him, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, when he's up and about, normally they're up and about. So if they can try and get him into the game somehow, that it might just give him a little bit of a sniff of being close on the scoreboard.
20 goals on the season in his 20 games, Alex Sexton. He is an important player when they're up and going well with what he can do inside the front half. Nice work from McLean. Collected a bouncing ball, shifted it across the line to Rampy. Rampy to Lloyd. Lloyd drives it inside the 50. Buddy collected on the bounce. Papley was there. He got legged. And a free kick will go the way of the Swans small forward. Just inside the 50. Lance Franklin is loitering with intent just behind him and then jogs away. And so Tom Papley out near the junction of the 50 and the boundary. Now gets a presentation from Buddy, who wheels around onto his left, steps inside and then flung it away. He flat out threw it away, Buddy. Collins intercepts, got it to Powell. Powell goes outside the defensive 50. Franklin with another chance. Toe pokes it forward inside the arc along the ground. Collins has a fresh area trying to fist it clear. Franklin goes back in, dispossesses Collins, and now a ball up on the paint of the 50, had it right half forward.
Well, there's fresh airs when you go to have a kick, but I've never seen one like a handball. It just went straight up in the air.
Very unlike Buddy. Margin 41 points is from the ball up. It ricochets through a few players and over the boundary line for a throw-in. 50 metres around from the Swans' goal.
He's blowing now, the big fella.
So Smith and McLean to contest this boundary throw-in. And as Rao sharks it, and he's tackled by McLean into the turf and forces a stoppage 49 metres out from the Swans' goal.
So still locked inside their 50, Sydney. 41 points the margin, 5.5 gone here in this third term. Fiorini gets a kick clear of the stoppage, a high footy inside the centre square. Can't be tracked down by Burgess, but Ainsworth was there for the Suns, bangs it into a vacant 50. A rolling ball there for Lloyd to collect for Sydney. Handball to Hickey. And they come out through Rampy, across the back arc. It was a dangerous kick, knocked down by Lukosius, who steps along the boundary line. Can he keep his kick inside the field of play? Only just. It bounced inside when he went looking for King. You can hear the instructions from the bench beneath us. It'll be thrown back in. Right forward pocket, Suns into attack. They kick to the commentary end here in this third term.
Should have done better there, Lukosius. He had Ben King clear. For a play of his talent, hand to foot, that was a bad miss. Ben King should be having a shot for goal now.
So from the throw-in, Smith wins front spot. Rao collects it, and he's going absolutely nowhere as Parker tackles him. We'll have a stoppage 40 metres out from the Suns' goal. As this time the Swans emerge from it, Florent just kick under pressure down the line, fisted by Hayward across the line, and we will have a boundary line just shy of centre wing position, dockside.
It's projecting forward for the Gold Coast Suns as well. I think they need to really, they talk about a forward that they need to go and get for King to help King out, but I reckon a ruckman as well. I think, Zach Smith's at 31 years of age now, and I think that's probably somewhere they need to look in and invest in that area as well. He's trying to get an experienced ruckman, because there's a few ruckman at the moment around the competition as a third ruckman or even a fourth string ruckman that they could target.
You could always pluck one away. Of course, they hope Jared Witts is back to full fitness next year, the Suns, but even as a backup for him, they were left desperately short in that scenario earlier in the season when Witts got injured. The Suns enter the 50. It comes quickly back out. Florence out near the boundary line. They can't keep it in. It'll be tossed back into play. And you look at the success teams like Carlton have had with Pittenay and Essendon with Phillips, and there's plenty floating around.
Yeah, because if they go with that second ruckman in their side, then they can actually put that second ruckman to use inside their forward line at the same time.
So Ainsworth runs onto this one. Nice low ball inside forward 50. King marks on the lead just inside the boundary line.
And it probably saves this man from having to do some of that ruck work.
Exactly. And look, that was fantastic by Ainsworth. And you look through some of these younger brigades, and Ainsworth, what is it? I think it's his fifth year or so. He was a consistent national player through his 16th year and his 18th year as well, along with Rowell and Anderson.
So Ben King will test him from here right against the boundary line. It looks pretty good. He's threaded the needle, Ben King. What a kick.
No test there.
He's kicked his third of the afternoon. The Swans 10-7-67 and Gold Coast moved to 4-8-32. 8 minutes played third term, and that was a beautiful strike of the football.
Quicker around the grounds at the MCG. The Hawks are pulling away 5 minutes before three-quarter time. It's the Tigers 5-9-39 and the Hawks 8-8-56.
That was super by King. You said it was a bit of a challenge or a task, Jess, but he just looked so easy. And you look, if they can get the ball into this guy's hands at least, a half a dozen times inside the forward 50, well, he's a chance to kick a handful or even a little bit more.
Been such a good player for them across the course of the season. Still only 21. Number 6 pick in the 2018 draft.
Can we get him his 50 goals?
15th time that he's kicked 2 or more this season for Ben King. What's he at so far, Burke?
46 now.
46. Well, if we can get
outside chance.
If we can get Buddy to 10, we can get Ben King to 7 for the rest of the day. That'll be our mission here on Grandstand AFL. A couple of bags at either end as Heaney lays the chase down tackle at left half forward for the Suns. Within 70 of the Gold Coast goal to the Coventry end. Hickey goes up, double palms it down. Hewitt was waiting to collect the football. And a free kick will go to Parker, who was taken high in the tackle by Powell. Out at right half back for Sydney. 10 minutes gone, third term. The Swans lead by 35 points as Parker goes one way, the other, a little pirouette, and then he shoots the kick down the line to McInerney, still at right half back.
5 metres with a kick.
So margin 35, 10 minutes played in the third term. As Mills marks and gives it to Riordan. He's under pressure. He handballs in the Florent direction. He has a couple of Suns to contend with. Just slaps it. Tries to slap it to his teammate's advantage, but Miller picks it up for the Suns. Gives it to Atkins, who delivers a pass inside forward 50. And it looks like it is Ainsworth, I think, who has marked this one on a 45-degree angle, 30 metres out from goal.
Look, good play, but I just took Muller there. He was outside of the contest, and he then came back to give it to Atkins. I know he's trying to bring his teammate to play. They're having a shot on goal. All good, but I'd just like to see took there just to take it upon himself to actually get it to Ainsworth rather than add an extra handball in there.
So Ainsworth kicked 12 goals for the year, but none so far this afternoon as he trots in on his line, and let's go. I think it's going to miss to the left, and it has for a minor score. So the Swans 10-7-67. Gold Coast 4-9-33. 11 played, third term.
And that centre ground contest that the Suns lost, part of that was Callum Mills. He's just not right. He had a turning circle of a...
Can't get out of second gear. He couldn't put any pressure on, could he? The Swans have worked it to the wing here. Dawson's galloping down toward left half forward. Kicks in Port looking for Hickey, who went flailing out with his arms trying to chase back at the footy. Davies got taken down by Hickey inside the back 50. And the veteran runs down the first gamer. And big Tom Hickey will have a set shot from 40 metres out, slight angle to the left of centre.
Young fella just trying to create something that wasn't there. He was just mauled by a few Swans player. There was no exit. That's where experience will come into it. First gamer, he'll learn from that. That's just where you get it out of the danger zone and just whack it on your boot.
Career season for Tom Hickey. This season, he's been such an important member of this Sydney side, and that's a wonderful set shot finish. Strikes it well on the left boot, and Sydney out by 40 again. 11-7-73 the Swans. The Suns 4-9-33. We've played 12 minutes in the third term. Your experts on Grandstand AFL are Nathan Burke and Chris Johnson.
Interesting going forward for the Swans. Big McLean, he was favoured in the team over Sam Reid. So it's pretty much a choice between the two of them. They've gone with McLean. He's only had the 3 possessions for the day, and probably one of the first times he's actually played alongside Buddy Franklin, I'm tipping, in his career. And sometimes it can be a little bit intimidating for a young fella. Like, I don't want to get in Buddy's way.
Exactly.
I'm going to lead sort of away from the ball to give Buddy space and all that sort of stuff. So it looks like he's not handling that occasion really well.
We saw him last week take a couple of really good marks. He got 4 and was excellent against Geelong earlier in the year, and both of those without Buddy.
So back in the middle as Rowbottom collects it. He tries to handle back to Hickey, but intercepted by Burgess, who throws it on the boot inside forward 50, and Rampy using all his experience against Jeffrey and takes a defensive mark in the back pocket.
Yeah, not much Jeffrey could do there. He tried and tried, but the strength of Rampy was just too strong.
So Rampy kicks out to the wing. Hickey off hands, playing Rover. Handballs backwards to Florent, just shy of the logo. Low kick along the ground to Mills. He's coughed it up, though, to Farah. Chain of handballs with Anderson. He's run down, though. And now is a turnover, and Jordan Dawson has a bit of room to move on the wing.
Aggressive kick inboard, finds Rowbottom. Rowbottom's got Hewitt cruising past. Hewitt kicks to full forward. Heaney's in front, Buddy's out the back. It'll spill for McLean. Oh, Franklin crashes through. Buddy comes bustling out, takes a few with him. Ball spills to Cunningham outside the forward 50 for the Swans. He's dived upon, ball up 55 from home.
Colin's slow to get up behind the play as well. I think Buddy gave him a bit of a whack as he was trying to get separation.
Franklin came flying through the pack there.
He's just got to be careful. Last game of the year, just err on the side of caution when you come steaming through. Well, if somebody sticks their head out the wrong way, it could be nasty.
Although they do tend to give him the rub of the green at the tribunal, Berkey, as we saw a couple of weeks ago. The Suns kick it forward. It's taken by Rampy, who goes one way, the other, puts a couple of dance moves on, sends it down the outer side. Burgess, good pluck, got up high in the pack and pulled it in. Just defensive side of the City side wing. The Suns trail by 40 points, 15 minutes gone in the third.
Burgess loads up and kicks Gold Coast towards half forward. Jeffrey presented well but couldn't complete the mark. It spills to McPherson from hard up against the boundary line. Kicks to a 2-on-1 favouring the Suns. Dawson tried to claim the mark. It was touched, says the umpire. O'Riordan now picks up. He gives it to Hewitt, who handballs backwards to Lloyd and handballs backwards to McCartan. From the right back pocket, he kicks outside defensive 50, crashing through was McLean. It spills to McPherson of the Suns. Handball looking for Harbrow. He can't take it with him. Hayward picks it up for the Swans. Kicks long down the wing where Heaney marks in space and he's off. He has one bounce, has a second as he approaches half forward, looks ahead for what's he's got inside 50. It's Wicks tracking back to the goal square and he marks. Plays on quickly and kicks a goal, and that is a superb piece of play. End-to-end stuff for the Sydney Swans. So Wicks on the end of it. The Swans 12-7-79. Gold Coast 4-9-33. 16 minutes played in the third, and there's an injury concern to the Suns at right half back.
It's Will Powell, who got absolutely smashed in the marking contest, came down at 1,000,000 miles an hour and landed on his back, and has hardly moved and has the trainers going out to him.
It looks like he could have almost whacked his head on the ground as well.
Almost the whiplash.
Yeah, the whiplash there. But great work there by the Swans. Heaney, he had two options on. He had Witts long, but then he had Buddy coming up. Buddy was tracking towards the goal square and then double back and presented at Heaney. He ignored that, and Buddy wasn't too happy about it, but chose the right option at the end of the day. And Wicks going across and having a nice shot on goal around the corner and playing on there. But the Swans just looking better and better as they get forward of the Suns at the moment, using the ball a lot better.
And Heaney, amazing effort, because you've got Buddy streaming at you pretty much in an open forward 50. You could forgive him for thinking you're going to be Buddy conscious. He's a one-on-one, he's streaming at you, that takes up your whole attention. But to ignore that presence and go to the first-year play in Witts over the top running into the goal square just goes to show what great composure and vision that Heaney has.
I don't know why play stopped. Obviously, the play is coming off, but it would only stop if it was a blood rule, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you'd think so. They've walked Will Powell from on the City side of the ground at right half or left half back all the way across to the broadcast side, and they'll go and do the concussion assessment on Will Powell, you'd imagine. Jeremy Sharp's down there warming up, the medical sub for the Suns. Robbie Fox, the medical sub for the Swans, unused thus far. And we're back underway after a delay of about a couple of minutes. And the ball immediately goes into a secondary stoppage. Rowell and Parker have a bit of a push and shove off the footy. Swans by a game-high 46 points. 18 minutes gone, third term. Davies is there for the Suns. On debut, handball to Atkins. Gets it back. Tried to cut his way through the contest. Good aggressive intent. Taken by Lloyd for the Swans. In the middle of the ground, hacked forward by McPherson. Free kick to Jordan Dawson, who was taken high. And Dawson's off and onto the left boot. He puts it out to half forward. McLean going back with the flight, tracks it nicely, pulls it in. No one on the mark. Go Hayden. He takes the ground. He goes for home. He leaves it right. It won't score. A mark right on the line taken by Zach Smith. There was a moment's hesitation there. You thought he might not take the advantage. He did and just couldn't get the finish. And Smith finds Rowell in the back pocket for the Suns.
So Rowell kicks back to the defensive goal square where Harbrow marks. So Harbrow kicks across to the other pocket, and Ballard marks just inside the boundary line, and he plays on. Handballs over the top to Lemons, who handballs to Farrup, and he gets around Goulden nicely, and then a long high kick down the wing, and Ainsworth takes the grab just inside the paint over Rampy.
Like Farrah Berkey, he's showed a bit. There's a lot of promise there for him in the coming years for the Gold Coast Suns.
So Ainsworth from the interchange gates kicks Gold Coast towards half forward. Corbett presents, it's off hands, and the boundary line beats all, and we will have a throw in between wing and half forward for the Gold Coast Suns.
At the MCG, it's three-quarter time. The Tigers 6-10-46 trail the Hawks 9-8-62. So 16-point lead, three-quarter time for the Hawks.
Thanks, Berkey. Jai Farrer, of course, one of the contingent from Halls Creek. Jono, which is just a remarkable football story that town in remote WA continues to produce such a strong contingent of AFL players. Came through Adelaide and now to the Gold Coast. Here go the Swans off half-back. Lloyd with his trademark run and dash to McInerney out to right half forward for Papley, who's 70 metres from home.
The other challenge with that, Joel, is that they will come for him at some stage over in the west and want him to try to get him looping back home.
Papley to Rowbottom. Rowbottom marks, turns around unguarded and thumps it through from 40 metres out. And the Swans are on the march again here at Docklands and have opened the game up to a 52-point break. 13-7-85 to the Suns, 4-9-33. Time on in the third term on Grandstand AFL.
Well, it's just been a different quarter of football, what the Suns have produced. As we see, Mills coming off the game, attended by the physio as well. So you would have thought now that for a fourth time that he's come off, that's going to be a day for him. No real signs just yet, but again, the Suns just haven't been able to produce what they produced in the last quarter. Rowbottom really up and about as well. He's starting to inject his influence back into this football game. He's back in the side as well, as we see Mills go down to the into the race as well.
Yeah, so is Will Powell for the Gold Coast Suns, no doubt getting a concussion test. So both Powell and Mills in the rooms for their respective sides, as we're back in the middle. And Parker gets boot to ball from the restart. Kicks towards Buddy Franklin at half forward, and a one-on-one against Collins. Just batting it towards his advantage. In comes Wicks. It tries to paddle it back to Buddy Franklin, but they've gone over the line for a boundary throw in 50 metres around from the Swans goal. They lead it by 52 points after 21 minutes in the third.
Right on the junction of the 50 in the boundary. The boundary umpire stands. Gets set to fling it back into play. Lands on the numbers of the 50. Smith and Hickey tussle. Both go to ground. Smith's on the ground. Tackled by Hickey. Doesn't get it out. He's going to be caught holding the ball. Ball was loose. Zach Smith dragged it in. Parker and Hickey over the top. The latter will be paid the free kick. Smith doesn't want to throw him back the footy. So Tom Hickey, the former Gold Coast Sun, of course, wanders over, picks it up. Goes back at left half forward. Kicks inside 50. Looking for Franklin. It got over the back. Harbrow takes the intercept mark for the Suns inside the defensive 50. Of course, we saw him up the other end of the ground earlier on.
Right idea there. Just Gold Coast, you just got to get in and block that space up. It's so evident, and it was there for everybody to see.
So Lukosius kicks to the wing. Ainsworth hands it to Corbett, who handballs in the path of McPherson. Has to get around Cunningham. He's dragged down, and now he's coughed it up. Hayward collects. Handballs to Goulden. Misses the target, but he's got a bit of time to gather anyway. And his kick across to the left half-back flank, and McInerney's in a bit of space, and he goes for a run. He has one bounce and then delivers a pass to half-forward. Collecting on the half-volley is Papley. He handballs into the corridor, intercepted by Powell of the Suns. Handballs to Farah, back to Powell, and then his kick out wide to Ainsworth on the wing.
So Ainsworth's got it centre of the dockside wing. Slows down in front of him. Fiorini presents short. That's ignored. Ainsworth wants to go longer. Sends it up toward King, who flies in the pack, got two hands to it, couldn't take the mark. McCartan and O'Riordan in there to knock it out for the Swans, and a throw in right half forward for the Suns.
It's got to be nastier in those marking situations, Big Ben King. He's got to stick his knee out, get the leg out, and get those players away from him. At the moment, he tries to take too many rebounds where the person who jumps the highest gets the ball. You don't have to rebound the ball in football. You can actually use your arms and your knees to get the person off the line of the ball.
And just going back to Ainsworth, he kicks it to where he kicked it, but not long before there was a Suns player all on his own there.
From the throw-in, a ball up, and the Suns work it through Atkins to Fiorini and now to Sexton. And Alex Sexton's 45 metres out on a 40-degree angle, looking for the 150th goal in his career.
Just good decisions there through that whole stoppage period there for the Suns. Just could have blazed away, but used it quite well and just linked up through hands and lower the eyes. Didn't blaze away.
Alex Sexton, game number 154 this afternoon, lets it go from just inside the 50 and strikes it truly and kicks the 150th goal of his AFL career. And closes the margin to 46 points. 5-9-39. The Swans 13-7-85. 24 and a half minutes gone in the third term. And it does look like Robbie Fox has taken the vest off, so to speak. The Swans sub. He's sitting next to Callum Mills on the bench. He looks like he's ready to come into the game.
Yeah, so he should. Callum Mills, go get the trackie on, go have a shower. Get yourself right for the finals next week. But Alex Sexton, 150 goals in your career, it's a fair milestone.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of players who've actually done that, so he should feel really proud of himself for reaching that milestone.
So Swans with a few injury concerns leading into finals, with Kennedy already out and Blakely, of course, for the season, and now Mills with an injury officially subbed out of the game, and Robbie Fox sitting on the interchange ready to come back on as we're back in the middle. Hickey palms it down to Parker. It ricochets back to Hickey, who runs away and kicks Swans inside forward 50. McLean has to turn spoiler. It spills to Swallow of the Suns. Handballs to Collins, who's grubby little kick outside defensive 50. Trickles over the boundary line, 60 metres around from the Swans goal, who lead this one by 46 points, 25 minutes into the third term.
He's convincingly the second leading goal kicker in club history, Berkey. Tom Lynch kicked 254 for the Suns in between 2011 and 18. Alex Sexton now with 150. He's got about 50 on anyone else. From the stoppage, the Suns scrap it forward. It's taken by Corbett along the boundary line. Shoots the handball back to Harbrow, who kicks the City side wing. Couldn't be taken by McCartan. Davies, that was a sharp bit of work at ground level. Rolls onto the right boot. Again, his kick goes out the back of all the forwards. Dawson knocks it down to Lloyd inside defensive 50 for the Swans. He chips short to Florent, who retreats defensively back to Dawson. They've got runners everywhere here, Sydney. Dawson to the back point of the square for Rowbottom. He can set things up.
So Rowbottom from the point of the square kicks inboard to Florent, who marks just inside the centre square, and elects to keep switching it to the outer side when McInerney marks it right half back. And he's got McCartan all alone, centre wing City side, who marks, chips it over the top to Hewitt.
You wonder what would happen if they played Ben King as a traditional full forward and just said, mate, spend most of your time in the square coming forward. You're going to have to keep a player back. I know they love this team defence stuff, but if you're Sydney Swans, you're still going to have a player back inside 50.
So Hewitt kicks to half forward, and Buddy Franklin in a 2-on-1 loses that contest, and the ball spills over the boundary line for a throw-in 50 metres around from goal.
And that whole team defence has changed, hasn't it, Berkey, compared to when we played? It's about everyone playing their role, but yeah, you've got to wonder sometimes, just to mix things up at various times. Just get something out of the goal square and see if they can lead up at the football.
Toss back in. Franklin goes to ground. Hayward has a go. Ricochets back to Buddy, who tried to bounce off a couple of tackles. Didn't get the handball cleanly away and was taken in the tackle by Smith. So a free kick to the Suns across the defensive 50. Smith goes across the face of goal to Atkins, who hangs the kick up over the head of Miller. Rowbottom knocks it away. Papley might have been tackled without the footy. Spills to Dawson. Dawson now to Lloyd inside the forward 50 for the Swans. Jake Lloyd blazes away. He can't find the finish. It's across the face. And the mark taken on the last line by Ballard for the Suns.
Yeah, well, the Suns right now, they have 15 players in their defensive 50.
So Ballard kicks to Farah, who kicks to Collins, marks just inside the boundary line in the right back pocket. Now just loads up and sends a long one down the wing. Pack forms, it's off hands. And McPherson tries to take it. He's tackled by a Reardon. McPherson goes in again, gets the hands free. Handballs backwards to Ainsworth. He's popped it up to McInerney. Delivers a pass into the pocket, but he can't complete the mark. Good work by Ballard to spoil it away from him. And then just escorted over the boundary line, and we will have a throw-in 30 metres around from the Swans' goal. They lead it by 46, 28 minutes played, third term.
Ball will be thrown back in. McLean in ruck. Smith reaches over the top for the Suns, knocks it down. Lemons a kick out of the area, up and down the mine shaft, knocked down by Swallow, taken by Rowell. He's thrown to ground, hand pass defensively. Farah comes busting through, got the arms free, handball to Miller. Miller away to Ainsworth, who sends it into space down the down to right half forward. Corbett tried to knock it on, taken by McCartan. Handballs defensively to Rampy, who steps inside of King once and then twice. Lovely kick on the left boot, summed it up beautifully. Found Rowbottom in line with the back edge of the centre square, who just lobs one over the top to Jake Lloyd, who's got it just defensive side of centre wing on the dock side. Sydney by 46 points, approaching three-quarter time.
Lloyd kicks to Dawson, who's all alone on the wing, and then just trots off and kicks a long one towards a dangerous position inside forward 50. It's off hands. Miller for the Suns. It spills to Howard, who handballs backwards to Ballard, gets around one, then handballs to Swallow. From right half back, kicks down the line. Lloyd just smacks it towards the boundary line. Jeffrey did well to keep it in. His kick partially smothered though. It ricochets to McCartan right on the interchange gates. Handballs inboard to Hewitt, who wants to handball all the way backwards to defensive 50, where McInerney gathers. His kick inside the centre square is a dangerous one. Jeffrey collects for the Suns. He gets around one, chips a pass in the King direction, and he's got it. No, it doesn't complete the mark, and the reinforcements arrive for the Swans as Rampy collects and tackled and forces a stoppage 30 metres out from the Suns' goal.
That voice was Stuart Dew.
I don't think Stuart Dew was happy with that decision.
Well, it's front on contact. Yeah. I thought it should have been rewarded a free kick for sure.
Yep. Had to be one or the other, didn't it?
Yep. Guess what? we know that the Suns won't be partaking in the finals next week, and neither will umpires number 1 and 5.
Yes, and I think Stuart Dew, hopefully he's got some loose change for a certain jar that they might keep in the change rooms for the Gold Coast Suns. Up they go at full forward for the Suns. McLean does the ruck work, knocks it down to McCartan, the secondary hit. Dawson tumbles it outside the defensive 50. Sam Collins a long way from home. Right half forward. That's Noah Anderson's voice that you can hear this time screaming 10 seconds. Collins sends it to full forward. It's knocked down. Davies soccers off the ground. Lloyd's there for the Swans. And they survive the late thrust as Dawson has a bit of push and shove off the footy. And at three-quarter time, it's all Sydney under the roof at Docklands. 13-7-85 Sydney to the Suns, 5-9-39. Gold Coast adding 2 goals, 1 in that term. The Swans kicking 4 straight to open up a 46-point lead at three-quarter time. Goal kickers for Sydney. Lance Franklin has 4 to take his career total to 990 within 10 of the magical 1,000. Sam Wicks has 2. Singles to Dawson, Hickey, Rampy, to Goulden, Mills, Papley and Heaney. The other goal in that term coming the way of James Rowbottom for the Swans. For the Suns, their goals so far all kicked, well, 3 of them going to Ben King, 1 to Josh Corbett. And the other goal kicker for the Suns so far in the game is Alex Sexton with his 150th goal in the AFL. Three-quarter time here at Docklands. Sydney charging toward finals action. They lead by 46 points over the Suns. 13-7-85 to 5-9-39. Final term coming up on the other side of this. This is Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio and ABC News Radio.
On Hard Quiz, only the most important facets of human knowledge are put to the test.
Which US rapper's name sounds like a brand of colourful chocolate?
Topics chosen are critical to the evolution of the human race.
The palindrome rotator is what word spelled backwards?
And experts are treated with the utmost respect.
Well, I'm afraid your parachute hasn't opened this time. You are plummeting to earth.
Catch Tom Gleeson with all new episodes of Hard Quiz. Wednesday nights on ABC TV and streaming on iView.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Hickey takes it out of the middle and sends a long one towards half forward. Franklin in a one-on-one against Collins and takes the mark. And just like the first quarter, Buddy Franklin will have a shot on goal in the opening seconds.
What did Split End say? History never repeats.
For his 4th goal this afternoon from right on 50 metres. Let's go, and sneaks it home. So Ainsworth runs onto this one. Nice low ball inside forward 50. King marks on the lead just inside the boundary line. So Ben King will test him from here right against the boundary line. It looks pretty good. He's threaded the needle, Ben King. What a kick.
Happily to Rowbottom. Rowbottom marks, turns around unguarded and thumps it through from 40 metres out. And the Swans are on the march again here at Docklands. Ball up and the Suns work it through Atkins to Fiorini and now to Sexton. And Alex Sexton's 45 metres out on a 40-degree angle. Lets it go from just inside the 50 and strikes it truly and kicks the 150th goal of his AFL career.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Three-quarter time at Docklands, the last game of the season for the Gold Coast Suns, the last home and away game of the season for the Sydney Swans. It's the Swans 13-7-85 to the Suns 5-9-39. Sydney with 4 goals straight in the third term to the Suns 2 goals 1. Joel Peterson and Jess Webster calling the action for you on Grandstand AFL. Great to have your company on ABC Radio in the ACT and on the Gold Coast and on ABC News Radio throughout New South Wales and Queensland. For those in the ACT and in New South Wales, in another day of lockdown from us here in Victoria, we know where you're coming from. We're with you. And if you're enjoying some relative freedom on the Goldie or in Queensland, then good luck to you. May you enjoy it, hopefully, for a long while to come. 46 points, the lead of the Swans at three-quarter time, 13-7-85 to the Suns, 5-9-39. Nathan Burke is our around-the-grounds correspondent this afternoon, as well as your grandstand AFL expert alongside Chris Johnson. Berkey, it's in the final term at the MCG across town.
Yes, no traffic on the road. So I just popped over and had a look. It's Richmond 7-10-52 and the Hawks 10-9-69. So 17-point lead with 11 and a half minutes to go in that game.
So they're going for 4 in a row. Hawthorn, Tyler Brockman's kicked 3 goals for the Hawks. Tom Lynch has 2 goals, 3 for the Tigers. Mitch Lewis and Tom Phillips also with 2 goals for Hawthorn. Tom Mitchell has 34 disposals. Where would Hawthorn finish with a win? They'll go up to 13th, ahead of Carlton at the moment with a win. So they've gone from 17th to 13th in a matter of weeks after the succession plan and everything that's gone on over the last little while. So,
do you think he's just trying to make sure Sam Mitchell doesn't get good draft picks?
Yeah, quite possibly.
Parting shot on the way out the door. You're going to get less draft picks.
If they win today, Hawthorn, they'll end up within half a game of Richmond at the end of the season. So Richmond will finish at 9-13 and Hawthorn will finish at 8-1-12, having had the draw in their campaign. 8-1-13, sorry, having had the draw in their campaign.
Well,
so
Damien Hardwick under pressure then?
Yeah, there you go. Good to see Will Powell back out there for the Suns. So no sub made with Jeremy Sharp coming on. Robbie Fox has been activated for Sydney, with Callum Mills dealing with that Achilles tendonitis throughout the course of today. Hopefully he's okay to continue next week. Berkey and Jono, Swans sort of wrestled control back in that term, didn't they? And started to play the footy they would have wanted to see.
They did. Interesting, though, that the inside 50s are 41 to the Swans, 37 to the Gold Coast Suns. And the difference is the Swans have had 21 shots from 41 entries, going at 51%, where the Suns have only had 13 from 37, going at 35%. And they mentioned before the game about getting a big key forward to help Max King. They definitely need to bolster those forward stocks over that break period.
Interesting to see where they do go, and it was a good question you asked of John Haynes earlier, Jono. We might discuss it in the last term, whether it's a draft or trade strategy for the Suns in this off-season. The Swans come out of the middle straight away, Papley to McLean, who absolutely flat out just got rid of Charlie Ballard.
And this is like,
he threw him aside and he hands off to Franklin, and Buddy unloads from outside 50. He misses, but he does bring up the 700th behind of his career. It's not the milestone that anyone wanted, but it's a milestone nonetheless. 47 points the lead of the Swans.
And he shouldn't have got it.
Well, that's what I'm about to say, Bergie, because unfortunately, Sam Collins was doing everything he could possibly do, and the umpire came in and collected him and put him on his bum. So, unfortunate, but yeah, there you go, buddy.
I'm thinking McLean's trying to play for his spot in the finals. He takes a mark 40 metres out from goal. But let him go back and have a shot. Let him kick a goal. You don't go and pinch run around the back when the guy's having a shot from inside 50.
So the Suns have turned it over from the kick in. McInerney from the centre square has kicked to Robbie Fox, the medical sub at half forward, who goes in the Buddy direction across the front.
There you go.
McLean, who
Sit on his head,
mark.
And he's hurt Buddy too on the way down. He's landed on Buddy's foot.
That'll teach you, bud. Karma.
So Hayden McLean, he came across the front of the pack and took the contested mark, and Buddy was left at the back, and he's just trying to walk it off close to the boundary line.
He's not happy. Just watching on the screen, there's a couple of words coming out of his mouth that we couldn't repeat, or we can't.
So
Stuart Dew might repeat that. We heard that in the third term.
So McLean would want to at least kick this goal from 20 metres out, almost directly in front. He's just snuck it home. So McLean gets the major, and the Swans get the first of the final term. 14-8-92, Gold Coast 5-9-39, 2 minutes played in the final term, and that would be an awkward post-match chat, I think, between McLean and Buddy.
As you know, Berkey, when you're playing, you play the midfield. If Harv's done something really good, you get over and help him out.
Yep.
If a Mel Michael or something when I was playing done something, well, you get over and pat him on the back, well done. McLean's gone back and kicked that goal. Buddy hasn't gone nowhere near him to give him the same. Well done, mate. He's just gone, that should have been my ball.
McLean made sure he didn't go over and ask for the high five.
Well, he owes you that one, Buddy. But this young fella's playing for his spot in the finals. At three-quarter time, he's saying to himself, Sam Reid's sitting there fully fit, waiting to come back in. I need a big last quarter. And The good thing is he's taken 2 marks. Should have had 2 shots for goal. He's kicked 1 in the last quarter, so well done.
Ball back in the middle. Swans out by 53, the biggest lead of the game. Oh, Papley paddles it forward, runs onto his own footy, 40 out, closes on goal. That is lethal from Tom Papley, who bursts away in celebration. His sprint with the ball in hand might have been overshadowed by his sprint after he kicked the goal. Tom Papley puts Sydney 59 points to the good with a firing effort out of the centre square. The Swans 15-8-98, the Suns 5-9-39. Papley's got 2, and gee, you've got to love the way he celebrates.
Well, he actually puts more effort into his celebrations than what he does to actually go and get the footy at various different times. But he started in the middle of the ground and he followed this up straight away. Obviously, there should have been a quick, easy clearance for the Suns, but they turned the ball over. You sock it along the ground, followed it up and just around the body. He loves that type of scenario.
Hasn't had a big day either, Tom. I think that's his second goal, but third now. Well, he's probably had a big day.
So Swans win the clearance in the middle. Hickey follows up his own good work, sends a long one inside forward 50. It's off hands. Heaney tracks this one on the wing. Handballs backwards to McInerney, fakes one way and then goes for a run and kicks in the Buddy direction. He's got this one this time. No one decided to come near him as he battled Collins in a one-on-one, and Marks 25 metres out, quick to play on, a snap around the body, and that is goal number 5 for Buddy Franklin. So Swans now move to 16-8-104, Gold Coast 5-9-39. It is a margin of 65 points, 4 minutes into the last.
Well, Paul Collins, he was done. He was Buddy had the body position on him and just held him underneath the ball. And it doesn't matter how strong you are to get back and push back once you've been sort of pushed out in that situation. Buddy was just too good, too strong, but just a superb kick in terms of kicking it to advantage. And that's where the Suns have lacked. I don't think we've had a forward entry yet, and we've gone just over 5 minutes now in this first quarter, and the Suns haven't even managed a forward entry. So the floodgates may just start to open up a little bit from here on in.
Well, the floodgates are opening up at the MCG. It's the Hawks out by 25 points now with only 6 minutes to go in the last.
72nd time in Lance Franklin's career he's kicked 5 goals. That is rather remarkable. Back in the middle, Hewitt tumbles it outside, and that is a good mark from Collins, lunging forward. The top of the defensive arc had the position on Franklin and was able to take it cleanly. Handball off to Powell, who comes to Harbrow, who comes across the defensive 50. Heaney plays interceptor, pokes it inside the 50, found Campbell, not the required distance. Campbell's away, he looks goalward. Hayward's on the end of it. He was so prolific in the last quarter last week, Will Hayward, kicking 2 of his 3 at a crucial time against North Melbourne, and this is really just to keep racking them up on the scoreboard for the Swans. He's 35 out directly in front.
That's promising by Campbell. He just showed a turn of speed there and composure. There's an ability to get your speed up and get it up really quickly, but then to be able to be composed with ball in hand, that was superb by him.
Hayward playing some of the best football of his career, and a rare miss there for Will Hayward. Hasn't kicked one today. 28 goals, 12 on the season now. He has been in lethal goal-kicking form. The margin of the Swans is 66 points.
There's Lukosius, kicks to Atkins in the pocket. Plenty of instruction coming from the bench. Atkins kicks long down the wing. Davies back with the flight. Nice courage from the debutant. Handball's off to Ainsworth. Short pass goes to Sexton, who marks just inside the boundary line near the interchange gates, and it's called to play on. So kicks a long one towards half forward. He's turned it over though. McInerney marks at defensive 50 and kicks laterally to Florent, who goes further across to the other side of the ground where Fox marks. Handball's over the top to Dawson from left half back. Handball's over to Hayward, who's in a bit of space on the centre wing city side. Short kick finds Hewitt, who's marked between wing and half forward, and the runners keep coming, so Hewitt pops it over the top to Dawson again. Marks just inside the boundary line at left half forward.
The 3 South Australian Swans connecting across the outer side in Hewitt, Dawson, Now Dawson inside the forward 50. Just lofts it to no one in the end. Burgess was the only man there. Buddy didn't get there. Hickey didn't get there. Neither did Papley. And Chris Burgess, also a South Australian, just floats in and takes the intercept mark to Harbrow. Flicks it out wide by foot to Miller, who cuts it inboard to Powell, who's got it at right half back for the Suns. Sydney by 66 points. Dangerous kick from Powell. Got away from Atkins, marked by Lloyd. Lloyd's got options everywhere. Papley's over the back, and Tom Papley will mark. Thought about handing it off to Franklin, but the goal sneak's got it in the right forward pocket.
No, he didn't, John.
20 out.
No, he didn't.
Well, maybe Tom Papley didn't. And that is a muted celebration by his standards as he snaps truly and just seeks one or two high fives. Doesn't run all the way back up the ground looking for every player out there. Sydney out by 72, 17-9, 111 to the Suns, 5-9-39. 8.5 gone, final term on Grandstand AFL.
There must be a little bit of respect there between Papley and Franklin there, because Papley actually called him out and said, my ball, and Buddy just left it for him. So, I think that if that was anyone else within the Sydney Swans forward line, I think Buddy would have just gone straight for it. And
if it was
his name,
if it was Hayden McLean, I've got a feeling he would have gone for it, John.
Exactly. He's got 4 goals now, Papley, so he's had a pretty good day out. Probably started a bit quiet in the first quarter, but has started to slowly build, and it's good to see him actually get midfield minutes as well.
It's been all Sydney in this final term. 4 goals, 2 they've slammed on in the first 8 minutes as we're back in the middle. Rowbottom tracks this one. He's tackled by Rao, just gets the hands free, lets go of it in the end. Campbell comes through and he's tackled as he kicks it. He's turned it over to Miller of the Suns from the centre square. Pass inside forward 50. Rampy has front spot and it works its way to McInerney, who handballs to Florent, under pressure with the kick. Kicks outside defensive 50. Hickey 1-2, and he's under pressure. He handballs out to Goulden, close to the boundary line, just has to stop for a moment and then kicks backwards to Hewitt. McPherson comes in for the Suns, giving away a free kick. Advantage played for the Swans. Florent handballs over the top to Jake Lloyd, who has a bounce inside the centre square. Handballs over the top to Rowbottom from centre half forward. Short kick to Dawson, who's marked on the 50-metre line. Quick to send it in the Buddy direction. He's marked at the top of the square.
He was on for 5 minutes and they didn't go to him.
So Buddy Franklin lining up for goal number 6. He's marked 10 metres out from goal on a 45-degree angle, but you'd think he'd make no mistake from here.
Well, they mucked around with a little bit in the midfield. He was on early. They finally got it to him.
And the Suns have had no answer for Buddy Franklin this afternoon. Trots in, slams home goal number 6, and it is a mauling at Dockland Stadium. Sydney out to 78-point lead, 18-9, 117. Gold Coast 5-9-39. Nearly 11 minutes played in the final term.
What I liked about that passage of the play, it came all the way from the Swans' defensive 50, but Buddy never got further than 20 metres out from goal. Actually, we keep crying up for a traditional full forward, stays close to goal, and that's what he did, and it just stretched the whole ground out because he was so deep, and you had players in front of him, and the Swans had the ability to run and share and kick the ball through the middle of the ground because the ground was so stretched out, and in the end it still got to Buddy one-on-one. I just hope more teams watch that passage of play, but at the MCG, the Hawks had got out to a 31-point lead, but the Tigers had kicked the last 2. 4 minutes to go. Clark goes up out of his seat screaming because he's not happy, but 4 minutes to go. It is a 18-point lead to the Hawks.
That's all the Swans here. The Suns will come out of the middle after the ball up, though. Harbrow, a handball to McPherson. Kicks inside the 50. Rampy tracked it back, couldn't take the mark. Jeffrey in the forward pocket, squaring ball over the head of Ainsworth. And Florent takes a floating footy. Chips short to Dawson. Dawson thought about going over the top to Wicks. Hesitated for a moment, then eventually goes there. Wicks marks on the paint of the defensive 50 at right half back.
I think they're listening to you, Berkey.
Yep, Buddy. 15 metres out from goal, and the ball is on the Swans' half-back line. I reckon they're probably protecting him and just saying, Buddy, just stay close to goal. But, boy, it looks good. Doesn't look good with a big fella standing in the goal square and the ball's up the other end.
So Swans share it around, and Goulden from right half-back kicks down the wing. Burgess collects for the Suns. His handball's intercepted by Hewitt, who's tackled by Anderson. Gets the hands free. And It is Wicks who's tackled by Farah and forces a stoppage just forward of the wing on the Dock side.
12 gone final term. Swans by 78. Biggest loss for the Suns this year, of course, came against Melbourne a couple of weeks ago, 98. The biggest win for the Swans, 92 over West Coast at Geelong. Swans only 8 points behind their highest score of the year, which came in round 1 against Brisbane up at the Gabba. And the Suns conceded 128 points against Melbourne when they lost by 98 a few weeks ago. Great mark from Davies.
I really like the athleticism and size of this young man.
191.
Take a grab, and he's quite quick. Just why have they waited till the last game to give him a run?
He's just had a few injuries. So he was pre-listed by the Suns in 2020 prior to the draft. And just had a couple of injuries, but has teared it up in the VFL this year.
So on debut, Alex Davies from outside 50 for a nice moment for the Suns. It won't quite get there. It's off hands, and the margin 77 the way of Sydney.
Tigers back within 2 goals. Hawks got out to 31 points. Now it is 71 to 83 favour of the Hawks. 2.5 minutes to go.
So Rampe to Goulden in the back pocket. And a high kick, an up and under kick towards it. Paddle on the wing. Dawson across the face of goal. Got hands to it. Couldn't complete the mark. Harbrow comes through for the Suns. Tackled by Wicks and stripped of it. Cunningham dives on it. Tackled by Anderson and cops one high. So takes the free kick on the defensive 50. Short ball to Hayward. Not 15, says the umpire. Called to play on. Hayward swings the ball out wide and Dawson marks 5 metres in from the boundary line. Has Heaney in a bit of space on the wing and goes to his direction. He turns around and kicks to Parker and they move it towards half forward. Goulden marks. His kick partially smothered. They're inside forward 50, the Swans. Rao comes through, tackled high by Parker and has the free kick in the back pocket for the Suns.
But he wanted it long. He's throwing the arms in the air.
Rao goes defensively to Lemons. Lemons awkwardly outside the defensive 50. Knocked down by Fox, taken by Lukosius. Handball to Fiorini. Long left foot kick to half forward. Corbett up once. Couldn't take the mark on the second attempt. It spilled away to Ainsworth. Pokes it inside the 50. King's getting back there. Running in toward goal. Kicks his 4th. Dribbles it through. Ben King, the first of the final term for the Suns, comes at the 15-minute mark. Closes the gap to 71 points. The Suns 6-10-46. The Swans 18-9, 117. 15 minutes gone, final term on Grandstand AFL as Lance Franklin and Sam Collins both trot to the bench, and maybe that's the last we see of Buddy for the afternoon.
Yeah, I think so. But put the ball out in front of Ben King. We forget that Ben actually won the halftime sprint at the grand final a few years ago in his first season. So once the King brothers wind up, get a bit of space in front of them, you won't be chasing them down.
If you can just put I guess, and talking to John Haynes at the start of the game, in around that, actually, if they can just get a little bit more support around him, because he's kicked 4 today, and if you can get another key forward popping in and kicking 1 or 2 as well, just build some confidence.
So we're back in the middle. Burgess palms it down to Fiorini, who gives it to Rout. His kick out wide towards the wing, and Atkins will be first to meet it. Handballs backwards to Swallow, who kicks inside defensive 50 to Lemons. Handballs to Anderson, who kicks across the face to the right back flank, and Lukosius marks. Still inside defensive 50. Lukosius, that beautiful kick down the wing, finds Harbrow, who marks on the logo city side wing.
Harbrow plays on, rolls around onto the left boot, chips it inside the centre square, made Rowell work for it, battles his way against a 2-on-1. Goulden was in there. Rowell forced the footy loose in the end. Atkins almost ran into him. Handball to Anderson, standing start, turns inside, kicks to full forward, through the hands of Smith. Davies at their feet, collects, snaps, misses. A couple of opportunities for a debut goal for Alex Davies in the final term. He missed that one to the left-hand side, but he is showing some flashes. Margin 70 points the way of Sydney.
I don't know about you, Berkey, but I'd be grabbing that vision from out of the centre clearance and telling the Gold Coast players, this is not what we want to do. Win a clearance and end up with the ball back in our defensive 50 because they went from one side of the defensive 50 out to the other from a centre clearance. I don't think that's the way you want to play.
So Florent from the back pocket, a long kick towards the wing. It's off hands. It spills out the back to Fox. He's dispossessed. Swallow picks it up, handballs backwards to Ballard. Back to Swallow, then handballs backwards to Anderson. So from the wing position, outer side, Anderson kick towards half forward. Jeffrey slides in, can't complete the mark. Fiorini collects, gives it to Ainsworth, swings around, chips it inside forward 50. It's off hands. Jeffrey tries to toe poke it to his advantage, but coming through Melican for the Swans, just slides off the side of the boot, and Ainsworth has intercepted it and marks just inside the boundary line, 40 from home.
Drama at the MCG. The Hawks 6 points ahead of the Tigers. 2 seconds to go. We have a goal referral for a goal. Is it touched on the line by Sean Burgoyne? Is he going to win the game? 2 seconds to go for the Hawks. If it's a goal, the scores are level. 2 points, 2 seconds to go.
2 seconds.
Meanwhile, Ainsworth has had a ping. He's missed to the near side for a minor score. So margin here is 69 points favouring the Swans. What's the result, Berkey?
Goal! Scores are level at the MCG.
Wow.
2 seconds to play. It was a scrubby kick out of a stoppage by Jack Rewald. Sean Burgoyne lunged on the line, got a finger to it, but it was over the line by a centimetre.
That's incredible. They were up by about 5 goals later in the game.
31 points with 5 minutes to play.
The Lee Matthews rule in full effect. 12-11, 83 apiece of a game that Hawthorn has had control of absolutely throughout. As Anderson swings it inside the 50, Corbett flat out left it behind. Handball to Powell. Powell a handball to Smith inside forward 50 for the Suns. His handball knocked down. Taken away by Florent, who tumbles it to the wing. Trying to get there is Lloyd. Worry for the Suns with Harbrow coming off with an injured left shoulder as well in front of us. That is a shame in his last game. Wicks has it now at left half forward for Sydney. He's got company though. Lemons knocked it up to Farah. Farah scoots off half back. Nice kick finds Powell. Should have been paid the mark just shy of the wing on the City side. Then got ran over. Nothing for him. And the ball in the hands of Campbell for Sydney.
So through a chain of handballs, Fox ends up with it and gets around Swallow and then kicks Sydney inside forward 50. Heaney in the pocket, rises and marks uncontested. He's got it 40 metres out, 10 metres in for the boundary, and Jared Harbrow, you could almost see the look on his face. He wanted to stay out there, and the trainer was actually pulling his jumper, telling him to come off the ground. He's in the hands of the trainers.
Jeremy Sharp's ready to go as the medical sub.
And no doubt Harbrow would have wanted to absolutely stay out there to the very final siren, so we hope that he is okay. Meanwhile, Heaney elects to snap on the mark, and there's a beautiful finish. He's kicked 2 for the afternoon. The margin back out to 75 points in favour of the Swans. And they move to, I think, 19-9, 123. Gold Coast 6-12-48 were entered time on in the final term.
All over at the MCG, and it is a draw. Sean Burgoyne was 1 centimetre away from being the hero and saving the day for the Hawks, but nevertheless, he goes out of the game as a hero to many people anyway, the way that he's actually played the game. And the other one is David Asprey walking around shaking the players' hands as they both exit. Both stalwarts and fantastic plays for their respective clubs.
Absolutely. What incredible scenes at the MCG this afternoon. 12-11, 83 apiece. The draw. Brisbane West Coast coming up for you this afternoon before Geelong and Melbourne tonight. And, of course, we say goodbye to another legend of the game in Eddie Betts playing his 350th and final game, Carlton and GWS. If you're listening to us on New South Wales or ACT News Radio, you'll get that game through that agency later on this evening. Ball mills around in the centre of the ground. Anderson gives one over the top to Rowell by hand. Rowell's kick to the edge of the 50, knocked away from Corbett. McInerney inside defensive 50 for the Swans. Flares it across the back arc and finds Cunningham. He chips to centre half back and finds McLean. He looks up and saw O'Riordan. Didn't go in that direction. Goes backward now to McCartan, still inside the defensive 50 for Sydney. Tom McCartan gallops off, chips it over the top. McInerney had it knocked away, tries to keep it in. He and Sexton run across the boundary line. It'll be thrown back in front of the interchange gates here at Docklands. The Swans 19-9, 123. The Suns 6-12, 48. We've played 22 and a half minutes here in the final term.
So throw in on the wing. It spills to Miller, who tries to burst through a couple. Handballs to Noah Anderson, had nowhere to go though, and the ball ends up over the boundary line again, and we will have another ball in.
Right in front of Jared Harbrow there too, so it's unfortunate. He's had some shoulders issues, I think, throughout his career, so no further part in the game. It's probably a sad day for him, probably not the ideal way that he wanted to finish up.
So from the ball in, Fiorini extracts it, tries to handball to Smith, misses him. Dawson comes in for the Swans. His handball misses Goulden, coming through sharp for the Suns, the medical sub. And the umpires found a free kick and all of that. So Jared Harbrow subbed out of the game. Jeremy Sharp comes in.
Oh, my God.
And that ball didn't go back to Jeremy Sharp the way that it should have. But no 50-metre penalty as Sharp
Came from his teammate, Jess, who didn't hit the target.
From the edge of the square, he finds Ballard, who sends it out wide to right half forward. Sexton marks 70 from home. Kick-ins to the pocket. It's off hands. McPherson roves. He just fends off one, has a flying shot on goal, but misses to the near side for a minor score. Sydney, 19-9, 123. The Suns, 6-13, 49. The margin is 74.
So ball brought back into the Swans to the back pocket. Cunningham over the top for Dawson. Short to Wicks. Wicks at halfback for Sydney, short to Parker. Parker now moves it down the line. Hayward stretches, can't mark. Ballard pulled it in, not inside the field of play. A throw in front of our broadcast position.
Franklin yet to come back on, guys. He's been off for a while, so still sitting on the bench as well. So
him on ice, so to speak.
I would have Luke Parker next to him and Isaac Heaney next to him.
Happily he is at the moment.
Yep.
Don't put Hayden McLean next to him, though. I don't think that may not go so well.
Who would be the other one? I'd go with Jordan Dawson, actually.
Especially after the lessons learned of last week with Kennedy. Here is Hayden McLean. He collects the kick from Hayward that was low down and speared to him. And Hayden McLean's got it 45 out, 45-degree angle to the right of centre.
It's interesting. What do you go with? Do you go with form or do you go with age on the bench at the moment?
I think Tom Hickey being on the bench is a good idea. He's a very, very important player. Yeah, Papley's young enough to stay out there, but definitely Luke Parker come finals. I'd have him there, and I'd probably have Heaney there as well.
So Hayden McLean on the approach, having kicked one here in the final term. From just inside the 50, strikes it on the right boot, leaves it left, minor score. They edge closer to their highest score of the year, Sydney. They're only a point away from it now at 124. The Suns are 49. 25 and a half minutes gone in the final term on Grandstand AFL.
He's finished off well, McLean. Didn't have a great first three quarters, but he had 3 shots at goal in this last quarter.
So willpower from the kick in, a long kick towards the outer side wing, and there's a push in, a marking contest.
Against King.
And I don't know who it's going to against King.
Yep.
And it'll be McCartan, the recipient, who chips it to McInerney, close against the boundary line, and balls backwards to Fox. He chips it laterally to Hewitt, who marks on the logo and then kicks inside the centre square where Aridin is waiting and takes the mark, and then chips it further wide to Dawson, who's marked at the back point of the square. Dawson chips it forward to Cunningham, who chips it further to Goulden, who's marked just shy of the centre circles. Kicks out wide to Hewitt, who gets around McPherson, handballs to McInerney, and he kicks out wide to McCartan, who's marked on the wing position, city side.
Goes short. Here's Goulden presenting up at the footy. 70 from home for the Swans. Lead by 75 points. Biggest win of the season, 92 against the Eagles a few weeks ago. Goulden thumps it inside the forward 50. Wants a flyer. Parker out the back, couldn't take it. Miller there again, prolific today for the Suns. Handball back to Fiorini at fullback. Tries to guide it outside the defensive 50. Knocked down by Jeffrey. Miller slides in. Rowbottom takes it away from him. Heaney puts his head over it. Thrown off it by Davies. Free kick when he didn't have it, according to the umpire. And Isaac Heaney will take a free kick from inside the
50.
forward 50 for the Swans and be marched to the goal line.
A bit of abuse there. Just a go. Finish off the game with.
And he will kick his third and give Sydney their highest score of the season.
A couple of the Suns players going, this is probably a good time to come off, but they've actually used all 75 of their interchanges. So if you wanted to get back on the bench and have a big finish to the season, bad luck.
So Isaac Heaney, after the 50-metre penalty, is marched to the goal line, where he calmly comes in and slams it up into the corporate boxes on the second tier of an empty Docklands Stadium. The Swans with their highest score of the season at 20 goals 10, 130 to the Suns 6-13, 49. 28 minutes gone, final quarter on Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, well, you just hope, what is it? I think there's probably less than a minute or probably a couple of minutes to go on this game here for the Swans. But as probably been the topic for the last 5 minutes, is just making sure that you get the right people on the bench for the Swans and just put that queue in the rack as best possible. And as you can see, it's not their most dominating midfield at the moment. Even their ruck, I can't see who's in there for the ruck, but it's certainly not a ruckman because he stands at about 100 and probably 80 centimetres. I think it looks. Who is it, Jess?
Robbie Fox. The medical sub.
There you go.
Swans have used 69 interchanges. They got 6 left, but and he didn't even bother jumping.
Fox didn't even contest that one. Burgess palms it down to McPherson. His handball's ill-directed. Sharp collects. Fox almost comes in and intercepts.
There he goes again.
And he's kept going now. The ball goes to centre-half forward. Coming through, though, is Swallow, who just hacks it out of there. Kicks towards half-forward. Ainsworth in a one-on-one against Cunningham. And Cunningham slaps it towards Dawson. It goes in. He's let go of it, though. Ainsworth picks it up from 50 metres out. Has a ping of goals. It goes right to the line. And off hands, Dane Rampy just scoots away from the defensive goal square. Kicks outside, out to the wing where Goulden marks in space.
So Goulden's off for the Swans. Looks up. Kicks to left half forward. Collins coming across in front of him. They'll get a mark here, Sydney. Hayward pulls it in. He pokes it inside the arc. McLean's on the end of it. Takes the mark. Hayden McLean, 45 metres out, directly in front of goal.
All the Sydney bench are up congratulating each other. They know there's not long to go. This could be the last kick of the game. Big fellow, this is his 4th shot at goal in the last quarter.
So Hayden McLean will go back after the siren and gets the advice of the umpire. Don't come off your line. Otherwise, we'll call play on. He says, no worries, roger that. And Hayden McLean with a couple in the game already. 1 goal earlier in the game. Looking for his seconds and to finish things off for the Swans with a bang. Comes in and does just that. Hayden McLean's second is Sydney's 21st, their highest score of the season, and the Swans are headed into finals on a high. They win by 87.
Lift that noble banner high, shake down the thunder from the sky. Whether the odds be great or small, Swans will go in and win overall. While our loyal Swans are marching onwards to victory.
Well, they ran away with it early, Sydney. It looked like it might get out of hand. They led by 36 points at quarter time. The Suns dragged it back in the second term and added some real respectability to the scoreboard. But Sydney, with a 4-goal third term, able to take control of proceedings again. And then they rattled home, kicking 8 goals, 3 in the final quarter. That their best final term of the year. Buddy Franklin kicked 6 to edge closer to the magical 1,000. He enters finals with 992. The Swans enter finals with a win.
Honour the name by day and by night. Lift that noble banner high. Shake down the thunder from the sky. Whether the odds be great or small, Swans will go in and win overall. While our loyal Swans are marching onwards to victory.
So Sydney keeps the dream of 5th spot alive. They need results to go their way this afternoon with Brisbane losing to West Coast, and then they would finish 5th. and likely play Essendon if they beat Collingwood tomorrow. If Brisbane wins tonight against West Coast, really by any margin, then Sydney will finish 6th. The Lions 5th, and then it's up to 7th and 8th to be decided across the course of tonight and tomorrow, with the Giants and the Bombers needing only to win to secure their spot inside the 8. While for the Suns, they finished their season at 7-15, and another second half fade out after winning 4 games before the bye. They won 3 games afterward, but a couple of heavy losses in there. Another one today by 87 points to the Sydney Swans, and it snaps the recent run of form that the Suns have had against this Sydney side. 21-10, 136 to 6-13-49 the final score. Before the thoughts of Nathan Burke and Chris Johnson, we'll give you the goal kickers from today's game, including 6 for Franklin, 3 for Heaney, 3 for Papley for the Swans, 2 for McLean, Wicks, Dawson got 1, Rowbottom 1, Mills, Goulden and Hickey also with singles. 4 goals to Ben King, so he finishes the season with 47. Does Ben King, a nice little campaign that he put together for the Suns in season 2021, and a goal to Josh Corbett and to Alex Sexton, who kicked the 150th of his career. Looks like they might be heading over for a bit of a guard of honour here for Jared Harbrow, who retires today having played his 262nd game. He holds the Suns games record. He is a life member of the footy club, having come through Cairns and then Mooroopna in the Goulburn Valley on his way to the Western Bulldogs, an inaugural son, and has played such a key role in the leadership of this football club over his time there since 2011. Zach Smith also retires from the club today, having been an inaugural son, a zone selection out of Rockhampton and the Zilmere Footy Club, who then, of course, went down to Geelong for a couple of years and back up to the Gold Coast. And it is a nice touch. It's one thing that our game does pretty well, Berkey and Jono, is sends off our retiring stars in style, and a couple of them. So Zach Smith is going to chair off Jared Harbrow here. I think it's probably Dave Swallow on the other side of Harbrow, and Sydney and Gold Coast lined up at the top of the Suns race, cheering off Jared Harbrow, who's been a terrific player over 2 clubs and heads off today. Unfortunately, he was subbed out of the game with an injury, but a nice moment after what was a pretty tough day for the Suns. Jono?
Yeah, it was. And look, you're right, Joel. We do it so good, and I just feel for players, Berkey, at the moment that don't get to do this in front of crowds and supporters being able to say goodbye and being able to do that. And that's the only thing that's really is disappointing, that we can't do it. But it was good that the Gold Coast moved some pieces about to get him down here to play this last game. And obviously they were supposed to play at home last week. I think it was a home game for him against Essendon, was it? Or they were supposed to play a home game where he was the plans were for him to play at home for his last game, but they were able to do that, which was fantastic.
He did well too. He had 21 possessions, which was the 3rd most for the Gold Coast Suns. So
almost kicked a goal. Would have been his first goal since round 12, 2018, had he kicked it.
Bad luck.
Where do you find that stat?
The wonderful website called AFL Tables, Jono.
You floored me with that one, Joel. But he goes out with his head held high. And the other thing was, they brought him in. They did extra effort to get him a game, and you know what? He wasn't a passenger. He actually participated, and he earned his spot, and he played really well for 21 possessions in his last game. So well done to Jared Harbrow.
What do we take out of that for both of these 2 sides, Berkey? We'll start with the Swans.
Swans. Interesting in your thoughts, Johnny. You played more final seasons than I did. That last game leading into the finals. What do you want? Do you want a finals type hit out that you win in a really hard type of game? Or do you want we've got another...
Harry Cunningham's being chaired off, so 150th game for him today. Off the rookie list out of Wagga Wagga and Turvey Park Footy Club. And he's been chaired off at the other.
I'm glad you said 150. I thought, hang on.
He's retiring.
After he sprung one on us. But, for John, I just came back to the point, which was... you can have the last game of the season, which is the real finals, do or Dyer type of game where you win got to win the contested possession and you get over the line, that's a good lead up to the finals? Or do you have a game like this where you have a big win, you're chock full of confidence, your enthusiasm's right up, you don't come away with any major injuries, and that sets you off into the finals? So which one would you prefer?
Yeah, I reckon it's more around habits, getting the right habits put in. You know, you always want to go for the win, and, you know, although the opposition weren't at the equality of Sydney Swans today, that some of the habits, but you made an interesting comment in the second quarter, Berkey, around you sense the Swans were just doing some stuff, lazy marking or kicking or handballing, and I reckon that may have been a topic at half-time for John Longmire, is to get that back on the board, and that they did do that. They were much more cleaner. They weren't as sloppy, but I think coming into a final series, if I can recall back to what we would do in that round 22 or 23, I can't remember how many games we played back then, it was just around getting habits right, and then obviously when you get back to the latter stages of the last quarter, you'd see Black on the bench, you'd see Vossi on the bench, you'd see some of the keys, and then all of us are still out there. But obviously habits, but trying to save some energy and some legs, I guess petrol tickets for the coming campaign.
Yeah, and one thing we know about the Swans is that they're season finals campaigners. Yeah, the majority of them. There's a bunch there that haven't played finals, but there's enough season finals campaigners to actually know how to handle this week. So that's the Swans. Callum Mills is the only sort of injury worry. Hopefully they were...
Kennedy maybe as well,
and
not quite sure.
Buddy, he was limping as well, still walking over to the Guard of Honour and off the ground.
Yep. And as for Gold Coast Suns, look, they would have wanted to have a better show in that second half. The second quarter, they got themselves back into it in the general run of play, not necessarily on the scoreboard. But you look at their team, and their midfield is being carried by 20-year-old Rao, 20-year-old Anderson, 25-year-old Miller. And he's just learning what it takes to be a great midfielder. This year he was outstanding, but he hasn't been doing it for 3 years. This is his breakout season. Who's going to step up for them? Is it Ainsworth? Is it Fiorini? Swallows not going to get any better. Collins not going to get any better. We're going downstairs?
Yeah, let's go into the Sydney Swans room and get the song. The Swans winners by 87 points. So Sydney by 87 points. If you're listening to us on ABC Radio in the ACT or on the Gold Coast, you're off to the NRL, the Tigers and the Sharks. Next, if you are listening to us on News Radio, Brisbane Lions and the West Coast Eagles is your destination at the Gabba. Of course, all the games throughout the course of the weekend on the AFL app, no matter where you are situated. Berkey, the votes in the ABC Footballer of the Year?
Yes, very quickly. Buddy's kicked 6, but I'm going to give him 2. How about that? I'm going to give... You keep the other team to 48 points. You've got to give it to a defender. Jake Lloyd, 36 possessions. He was unstoppable. Buddy, 2. And I'm going to give Dawson 1 vote.
Nice work, Nathan Burke and Chris Johnson. Thanks for your company this afternoon. Jess Webster is headed down the road to Geelong. She's pulling double duty tonight. Jess will be along for the Melbourne and Geelong call a little bit later on. Thanks to Stu here and to Aaron back in the studio. The Swans heading into finals with a win by 87 over the...